Good afternoon, everybody. It is 12:30 on the dot. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. My name's Jane Monreal. I'm filling in for Nick Sturdivant, usually in the morning, 9 to 11, but Nick is off today. I'll be here for a little bit of the afternoon. And let's go ahead and kick things off with our Becca Birdsall, meteorologist. She's in studio with me here live right now, talking about this weather. I'd love to start the afternoon on such a gorgeous note, Becca.
Nothing but blue skies. You know, yesterday was absolutely perfect,
yes.
But it was well below average for this time of year. Yesterday we had highs right around 70 degrees. Today is going to be close to 80 degrees. So 10 degrees warmer than yesterday, but if you like the warmer fall-like weather, that is exactly what we have in today's forecast. Getting a couple of woos there, and we'll continue to see these warmer temperatures for today before another drop as we go towards the second half of the work week. We've got Carolina blue skies out there over towards Lylesville. This is Anson County, courtesy of Mr. Sparky. We've got more blue skies over towards Beach Mountain, courtesy of Resort Camps. Of course, those gorgeous fall foliage colors as well. With outside temperatures, 69 in Charlotte, 70 degrees over towards Lincoln, Concord, Monroe, already up to 75 over towards Lancaster. So this time yesterday, our high temperatures were right around this range, and you can see with that 24-hour temperature change really showing the story, anywhere from 6 6, 8 to even 15 degrees warmer than this time yesterday up towards the high country. So today is probably going to be the warmest day out of the entire work week. Again, enjoy it if this is your type of weather. High temperatures, upper 70s, close to 80 degrees in many spots. Only an isolated chance for a downpour as our next front starts to move in. This is also going to ramp up our wind gust as well. We have a current wind gust outside now of 25 miles per hour over towards Monroe. So do expect that range for today. It will be breezy at times, especially later on this afternoon and evening, gusting anywhere from about 20 to 25 miles per hour. Tonight into early tomorrow morning will be another cool, crisp start, starting off in the upper 40s to lower 50s. And then tomorrow afternoon, not nearly as warm. We'll see those highs drop to the lower to middle 70s across the greater Charlotte area. This is picture perfect weather with tons of sunshine to go around. You know what? We'll just keep this trend going as we go into our Thursday and Friday and into this weekend as well, with very seasonable temperatures. Our average high for this time of year is right around 72. So today, well above average, but it does get a little bit more seasonable for this time of year, especially ending out the work week and going into the weekend. I even see an upper 60s for the high temperature on Friday, and we'll continue that into this weekend as well. Upper 60s to lower 70s. With those morning temperatures, it's sweater weather. That's hard to say, especially as we go towards the end of the work week, starting off Friday morning, 42 degrees. And if we do hit that, that would be the coolest morning out of the fall season so far. With that front coming in, we do have isolated rain chances for today. Again, that's also what's going to be driving up some of our wind gusts. After that, though, it will remain dry throughout the rest of the work week and going into your weekend. So good news if you do have any weekend plans. Next best chance for rain likely coming for next Monday. A quick check on the tropics. We now do have finally Tropical Storm Melissa as of the new 11 a.m. advisory. It's over towards the Caribbean, and it has sustained winds right now at about 50 miles per hour. So this will continue to track west at about 14 miles per hour, and it's going to be a very slow moving system, producing lots of rainfall and strong wind gusts all across the Caribbean. So this is the latest storm track of it. You can see it's very small and kind of just stays in the same place over the next several days, which will bring some flooding concerns, like I mentioned, over towards the Caribbean. But this does not look like it will have an impact on the U.S., so that is going to be the good news. And this Jerry Hunt Super Center 7-day forecast. Today, really nice warm conditions. Again, perfect for any outdoor activities. As we go towards the end of the work week, we will see some cooler temperatures falling to a high in the upper 60s for a Friday, with morning lows down into the 40s. And we'll continue this stretch of nice weather all the way through this weekend. And this may be the quickest forecast I have ever done because there's not much to talk about, which is a good thing.
I guess it's a good thing.
So we've got lots of dry air, a nice breeze coming in, some warmer temperatures today, warmest of the week, and then cooler, more seasonable as we go towards the weekend.
Yeah, hey, let's not push a good thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're thankful for it all.
If we're anything, we're consistent.
Exactly. All right, we're going to love this week. Thank you so much, Becca, and hopefully that proves well for our home teams here in the Carolinas. All right, appreciate that. See you a little bit later. Right now, I want to just go to a live feed. This appears to be President Trump speaking from the Rose Garden on several topics. Let's go ahead and listen in here on Live Impact News on WCNC+.
I said, check the tariff shelf. Well, those tariffs haven't kicked in. Yes, they did. They kicked in 2 months ago. Check it. He comes back 2 hours later. Sir, you were right. We have an additional $31 billion, billion, not million, Lindsay, billion, that we just found from tariffs. They kicked in earlier than we thought. You were right. We're a wealthy nation again, and we're a nation that can be secure. We're a nation that can start paying down our debt. And with tariffs, we're the wealthiest nation ever in the history of the world. Without them, we've got to slog. We've got to slog. But remember this, other nations, including China, Japan, European nations, they used tariffs against us for many years. That's why we owe $37 trillion. That's why. But they used tariffs very successfully against us, and we had presidents that never fought it. but now you have a president that does fight it. So I just want to welcome you to the incredible Rose Garden. It's just an incredible place. It was done. We did it, brought it back to health. It was in very bad shape, actually, and we brought it back to health. First Lady Melania did a fantastic job on it. The surrounds and everything. It's all brand new wiring. You know, underneath there's a lot of wire, a lot of things. Everything brand new, everything beautiful. The only thing we did is we had to get a hard surface here because nobody could use it because of the grass. So I just want to welcome you, and I hope you're going to be here a lot. We're going to use it for meetings. We're going to use it for press conferences. Now we can use it. It was unusable before, and now we can use it. But everything that you see was redone. All of this was redone, and the whole White House is being redone. Some of you came through they call the Rose Hall. They call it different names, but you probably noticed, I don't know if you came through this door, did you notice the white marble floor that was put there? That was made out of Home Depot tiles, about 1 foot by 1 foot. They were all broken, about 30 years old. And I replaced it with book-matched marble, paid for by your friend, President Trump. It's like, it's amazing how people like it when you say you paid for it. When I say I paid for it, they say, oh, I love it. But they did a beautiful job. They're great talents. They're very talented marble people I have. And they replaced it with beautiful Paradiso marble and statuary marble, and it's really, really beautiful. I want to thank the outstanding leadership team, and you really do have that. Majority Leader John Thune, who's been my friend, he really, really has done an amazing job. Thank you, John. Thank you. Done an amazing job. I didn't get to know John as well in the first term, and I've gotten to know him very well over the last 9 months, John, and you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Really great. Majority Whip John Barrasso, who's outstanding man. Thank you, John. Thank you. Great guy, too. Conference Chair Tom Cotton. He loves that military. He loves it. He loves the military. Policy Committee Chair Shelley Moore Capito. Shelley, thank you very much, Shelley. Vice Chair James Lankford. Very good. James, thank you. And, you know, we have everybody but one person here. You know, everybody showed up. I figured you'd have like, I'd say 40 would have been a good number, right? We have everybody. We're just missing one person. You'll never guess who that is. Let me give you, he automatically votes no on everything. He thinks it's good politics. It's really not good politics. He's an automatic no. But I don't know. Look, if he wanted to come, I'd probably let him come, right? I'd let him come. Begrudgingly, but would let him come. And National Republican Senatorial Committee Chair, an unbelievable guy, Tim Scott. You know, Tim, I shouldn't say it because it's so, I don't know if it's good or bad. But Tim ran, and he was very effective and very good. But he was on the debate stage and everything else, he was good just because he's good. But he wasn't as good as they thought he was. And when he got out of the race, he endorsed me almost immediately. And I used him as a surrogate. And I wasn't sure if I should because, you know, sometimes I want a total lunatic to get up and fight for me. And Tim is a really good person. So I wasn't sure. And I put him on the stage, and he ripped the heart out of everybody. He was so brutal. He was so unbelievable. It turned out to be absolutely one of my best surrogates, and it includes a lot of you people that were here. You were all surrogates. But Tim ripped these people apart. And after watching 2 or 3 times, then I wanted him all the time, right, Susie? I said, I want Tim Scott, get up there. But he was so good, and I said to him, Tim, when you fought for yourself, you were much different. When you fought for me, you were a tiger. You were like unstoppable. You were, really was. You all saw that. What's the difference? He said, I've never liked selling myself, and I love selling somebody that I really do believe in. I really believe in you, and I just felt that way. And it was so nice the way he expressed it. And I want to tell you, you are a champion. You are a winner, and congratulations. Thank you very much. I never love telling that story because I'm not sure if it's a good or a bad story, but I'm telling you, you are an amazing guy, and you fought for me so hard, and I really appreciate it. You got to be my #1 choice, Tim, so something happened. I appreciate it. And you're doing great doing what you're doing right now. I also want to thank the entire Senate Republican Conference for your tremendous work on confirmations. Boy, did we have a couple of weeks, huh? We had some, I signed like 150 of them, and I didn't use an auto pen, by the way. I signed. You know, when you're signing these important, like a general getting approved from 3-star to 4-star and all of these different things, and
You've been listening live right now. President Trump speaking from the Rose Garden, of course, mentioning that the ongoing construction, the demo of the hall, the ballroom, is taking place right now to be replaced by a new one. Speaking of which, we're going to talk to a historic preservationist on what this is all about and the history of this grand room at the White House's East Wing. After this break, we'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Time right now, 12:45 here on a Tuesday afternoon. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+. I'm Jane Monreal. So moments ago, we just heard from President Trump talking about the ongoing construction at the White House. It is the East Wing's ballroom that's being demoed, and it's going to receive a new ballroom. So with that construction work being done, we are now joined this afternoon by a historic preservationist specialist, Joan Brierton, joining us right now on Live Impact News, who I must say, through all transparency, is the aunt of James, right? Yes, James of Brierton, speaking in this role as a historic preservation, because you know all about this, or not this project, but certainly the East Wing there at the White House, don't you, Joan?
Correct, I do. I've worked in DC in historic preservation for over 30 years, so I'm extremely familiar with the city and the White House grounds and the various buildings that comprise the complex.
It's wonderful that we are so well connected to you through James. So a quick connection there and a good get for us this afternoon. All right, so tell us what purpose did the East Wing serve then?
Well, I'll just back up for a second because not everybody has had the opportunity to come visit our wonderful city and to see the White House. So the White House grounds and the pictures that you're seeing of the demolition only give you one shot. So we have the house at its center, the White House at the center. And then there are two connectors. And then we have the West Wing and the East Wing. And it's a symmetrical complex, and that's very intentional. It's very small scale, and that's very intentional. The West Wing houses the offices of the president. Many are familiar with the Oval Office in the West Wing. And the East Wing was constructed during the Roosevelt administration to house the offices of the First Lady and her staff.
Okay, all right, wonderful. So, I just lost ourselves picture. All right, so when was this built, Joan?
The East Wing, which is in the process of being demolished, there was a very small East Wing to the White House built around at the turn of the century between 1900 and 1910. But the East Wing that you see today is a Roosevelt endeavor, Roosevelt initiative in, I believe, 1942. And as I mentioned, the East Wing was largely to house the offices of the First Lady and her staff. And of course, Eleanor Roosevelt was a very active and very engaged First Lady. So President Roosevelt, recognizing that the West Wing, the president had the West Wing for himself and his staff, the First Lady was in need of a like space, and hence the symmetry between the West Wing and the East Wing bordering the main White House.
So, Joan, I got to ask you then, you've been watching, you've heard about the project, obviously, and seeing and hearing about this unfolding. What is your reaction then, having all of this knowledge and knowing the history of such an iconic area of the White House, the demolition equipment arriving on scene? What is your reaction here? What did your gut tell you?
Well, I've worked in historic preservation for a very long time, so I have seen modifications and adaptations to historic sites, even new construction adjacent to historic sites throughout the course of my career, and managed many of those projects. The difference here is that normally they would go through an extensive design and review regulatory process, and that's something that we have not seen here. So to suddenly see the demolition, of course, we've all heard this was coming, but usually, especially in DC, especially on the White House grounds, which is perhaps the most significant National Historic Landmark or site in the country, that work would be reviewed by the Commission of Fine Arts here in DC, the National Park Service. It would involve a public consultation component to ensure that what was happening there was not adverse or not in keeping with the original plan for the White House grounds, with the symmetry that I discussed and the symbolism, really the symbolism that the site remains small. This is a house for a person, for a president, but we are a government of the people. And so the site was really intentionally kept small and humble to reflect where the power resides in the United States, and that is with the people.
All right. And so have presidents in the past made changes of their own, and they went through a review process in the past?
Correct. And presidents of their own, whether it's tennis courts or swimming pools or movie theaters, pardon me, but also it's an old house and it's an old structure. The Truman administration actually fully gutted the interior of the White House. But if you research that endeavor, which was extensive, that work was still conducted within the confines of the envelope of the building, maintaining the scale and the form of the house. And of course, there had to be modern conveniences along the way, mechanical upgrades, electrical upgrades, internet. So it's a very modern complex. And yes, they would go, even if it's a conversion of a basketball court or a tennis court, the proposals for changes to the White House grounds would have been reviewed out of respect for the significance of the site.
Understood. All right. So President Trump says he's creating this ballroom that's going to be multi-purpose, now being able to host press conferences. He just announced earlier. Have previous presidents had access to the ballroom?
Well, this will be the ballroom as they're building, constructing a ballroom. That's my understanding as far as the proposal goes. The White House itself has two ceremonial spaces. We have on the west side of the White House is the state dining room. So when you would hear about state dinners, that's where they would host the state dinners. But then there would be the East Room where they would host press conferences, Medal of Freedom, Medal of Honor awards, significant ceremonial events. So there are two significant spaces within the White House themselves. The distinction being, I think, the capacity, which, if I understand, this ballroom will hold close to 1,000 people.
All right. Joan Brierton, historic preservation specialist or preservationist. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Appreciate your insight into, what seems to be a massive project there in the East Wing for the White House.
A pleasure to join you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back here in the Live Impact studio, that was interesting insight. Let's go ahead and take a break, shall we? You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. 12:55 on a Tuesday afternoon. The president is busy right now. We spoke to Joan Brierton, historic preservation specialist, about the ongoing demolition that really just started, putting a new ballroom there in the East Wing of the White House, and the president hosting a luncheon from the Rose Garden, and I believe he is taking questions from the folks out there. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
It's good. The fences are down. There's no tents. There's no anything. We are looking like it's just a whole new look. And the most important thing, there's no crime. And we're going to fix the roads. We have great pavers. We're going to fix the medians in between the roads, which half of them are falling down. We're going to take some of the tiles off the bridges, the tunnels that you have. They've been up for 40 years. They're rotted. And we'll put up brand new, gorgeous white tiles like it's supposed to be. But this place is looking really good, and we haven't even started the real fixing up of the town. We're getting rid of the graffiti. You notice there's almost no graffiti anymore. A lot of that beautiful statuary marble had red graffiti all over it, had bad signs up, and it stopped. We've taken out 1,700 career criminals and people that came in through an open border. They came in through Biden's open border, and we've taken them out. The thing having to do with all of the elements in the great, big, beautiful bill. I'll tell you, it's amazing what we've done. $200 billion in costs for medical. What we've done, $50 billion for rural hospitals. And remember, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on... Think of all of these things that we've done. This is the biggest, this is the greatest bill. Social Security, no tax on overtime, but no tax on tips. I got that from a waitress in Nevada. I was making a speech, and I'm at one of my restaurants in the hotel I own there, and I say, how are you doing? Well, sir, it's terrible. They're taxing my tips. They're going, I wouldn't have even thought that. And I looked at it, and she said to me, sir, there should be no tax on tips. I said, say it one time more. No tax on tips. I walked outside to the press. I said, there will be no tax on tips. She was right. And we won that state by a lot. That's not a state that we win by that much, David, but we won it by a lot. So it was pretty good. But that bill is chock full of so many different things. So it was the biggest bill. I'm actually saying this to the fake news so that they maybe print it, but maybe not, because you people know. It was the biggest bill ever passed in Congress. And what we did was a little risky. We put everything into the bill, John, right? And some people were against it. They said, no, you got to do small bites. And we gave it a shot, and we got it passed. I got a call from John. He said, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, sir, we have 4 hard no's. Could you please call him? I said, what time is it, John? It's 4 o'clock in the morning, sir. So I call up. One of you is sitting right here. I said, Jim, could I say hello to you? It's 4 o'clock in the morning, right? He said, sir, you have my vote. I said, wow. Then I called up another person. I'll use fictitious names. Doug, could I get your vote? You've got it, sir. Then I called up another one. How about Josh? Could I have your vote, Josh? Because I like Josh. And Josh, who can be very difficult, said, sir, you have my vote. His wife was screaming at him on the other side. Sir, you have my vote. But I called people, and they weren't really hard-nosed. They wanted a little attention, unfortunately, at 4 in the morning. Sometimes I like the ones that don't like the attention, but we'll take it anywhere we can. And we got it passed, right, John? And nobody thought that could happen because you have a small majority. And in the how about in the House, we had a majority of 3. We actually went down after that for a period of about 2 months. We went down to a majority in the House of 1. And I kept saying, you know, because I'll tell you, Mike Johnson's great. The team, these 2 teams, did you ever see 2 people more different? One's tall, one's slightly less tall. We want to be polite. They are very different people, but they're the same in terms of talent. They did the 2 guys, and they get along incredibly well. We all do. We get along great. But we passed a bill. We don't need to pass any more bills. We got everything in that bill. There's nothing else we have to put. We got the largest tax cuts in history. We got the extension of the Trump tax cuts. We got all of these things. And, you know, remember, they lie. They will look at I saw it the other day, they were talking about, I call it the great, big, beautiful bill, but that's what it is, the great, big, beautiful, the biggest bill ever passed. And what they say, they make up stories. And I saw they were interviewing a senator, and they said, well, what's wrong with their bill? He didn't know what to say, because there's nothing he could say. It covers everything. He said, death, death. It brings death. Now, if I'm a regular person and I hear that, I say, oh, that's terrible. But it's just the opposite. It brings life. It brings Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. It secures all those things. And they just are so bad. You know, they said death. It was like death. And there's nothing about death. Theirs is death. Because they're going to lose Medicaid. They're going to lose Social Security. They're going to lose Medicare. All of those things are going to be gone because the whole country would be bankrupt, and you're not going to have any kind of medical insurance. So with us, it's the opposite. And it's a great bill. We don't need any more. And I want to just say from the beginning, our message has been very simple. We will not be extorted on this crazy plot of theirs. They've never done this before. Nobody has. You always vote for an extension. Chuck Schumer and the Senate Democrats need to vote for the clean, bipartisan CR and reopen our government. It's got to be reopened right now. We're not doing that. They're
All right, we are going to take a break here, top of the hour. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. Jane Monreal. We want to start with something so special to share with our community, as October is Filipino American History Month. Also, the Filipino American community of the Carolinas is bringing history to life here in the Queen City in a way that's never been done before in Charlotte. The 36th annual gala, transforming an immersive cultural experience that's going to bridge the past with the present. So joining us in studio right now are two leaders behind this remarkable event, and I love this banner. Look at that beautiful banner there. We have Dr. Louis Anquilo, first vice president of the group, the Filipino American Community of the Carolinas, and Dee Valapando, the organization's public relations officer. Magandang gabi. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Magandang
ma'am.
hapon.
Okay, so let's start with the actual organization, okay, Dr. Louis. Tell us about the Filipino American Community of the Carolinas. How long has this organization been serving the area?
We have been alive and kicking, serving the community for 36 years now.
Wow, 36
Yes,
years.
ma'am.
Who knew we had such a big Filipino community
Yes.
here, right?
Yes.
And it really has grown, hasn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about what you've seen, not only with Filipino Americans making their mark, but here certainly in the Carolinas and the diversity that it adds to this community.
Having the organization very much attracts Filipinos as well. So we have different cultures coming in, but Filipinos have gathered much more with having different, work-wise, from doctors to nurses, teachers. We have been having them welcomed, and we are using the organization at least to make it much more known to them that we have an organization for them once they arrive here.
Very good. And then, and Dee, tell us the organization, 36 years of this gala, but it could have been 38, right?
Could have been 38 gala evenings, if not for COVID.
Yeah.
But we are very excited because after all this is done, like we get to celebrate not just the community, but at least like our culture itself. And this is pretty much going to be evident during the upcoming 36th annual gala, wherein we would go back from the past. We will be using our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal's No Limit Angere, one of his two very famous novels, to bring us from the old days, from our our Spanish colonial period, and that would bring us back in the past to what you say to the present.
Wow. Okay. So, if people are not familiar with Dr. Rizal's, book or his work, talk to me about the significance that his work and his legacy leaves for Filipino Americans.
Well, Dr. Jose Rizal, like I said, is our national hero, and he has written quite a few novels and books and poems and all that stuff. But two of his most very popular ones are No Limit Angere and El Filibusterismo. And that pretty much is his way of actually kind of poking at how we were colonized back in the past, and has kind of also poked back Filipinos to fight back and regain our freedom, which have been under Spanish colonial rule for over 350 years.
So yeah, it's kind of deep, right? It's
It
like
is.
it really offers some meaning, maybe jokey, tongue-in-cheek, but it also offers a bit of a sacred place where Filipinos and Americans, Filipino Americans, can understand the culture and the history and the significance of it all. All right, so what of this theme of the gala? It seems very significant. We're looking at the beautiful posters and that kind of throwback look of the Turno, the barong. Talk to me a little bit about what people can look forward to.
When we are going to go into the gala, we're going to be having this immersive experience for which there will be timelines for which you're going to be going in through the time we're in Spanish colonial era up to the present, for which you could be having people also interacting with you, like board of our directors will be there to get you into the history and much more immersed into what Dr. Jose Rizal has made.
Very nice. And so we also expect some performances, yes?
Yes.
What kind of performances are we looking at?
We have some cultural experiences and performances that we're going to have. We have also our live performances, wherein we will have Miss Yael Pineda Hall, which is part of the National Touring Company for Disney Lion King, which will come here in November and will be helping us out and provide the kind of distinction that this is a Filipino gala.
Fantastic. For those who may not be able to go to the gala, or for those, Filipinos in the Carolinas, what is the message here for decades and decades, or maybe just arrived, or first, second, third generation children of Filipinos? What is the message in all of this?
The message is pretty much that for those that are from the younger set, from the youth, like, this is your heritage. This is part of you and your culture. And for those that are coming in, just letting everybody know that the Filipino American community here in the Carolinas is very much active and here for you if you're just moving to the region. We're here to help you out in whatever way we can, and let's all thrive as a Filipino community here in the Carolinas.
Yeah, let's thrive. Why not? Yeah, why not me? Why not you?
Everybody.
If Dr. Rizal could see this gala happening, what do you think he'd say? What do you think his impressions would be?
I would say mabuhay.
Mabuhay is good. Welcome. What else? Anything?
I am thinking he probably, or most likely, will be proud of us,
Yeah.
because we look back in the past, because whatever happened in the past shapes us into where we are now. As a culture, our history is written from his time on and moving forward, and I'm sure he's very happy that we have never forgotten.
If I may add, this
Please.
is like having the books come to life.
Oh, there you go.
So there will be something that he would definitely be surprised that the 21st century devices or whatever that he can apply into his book, history, literature, will come to life.
Love it. I love it. I love the history lesson here and a little bit of culture right here in the Carolinas. So we celebrate you, mabuhay. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much. And what do people need to know about this Saturday?
All right, this is our 36th FACC annual gala, grand gala, and we are inviting everybody to join us. This will be on October 25, 2025 at Le Meridian Hotel, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay, where do people need to get tickets?
Just reach out to us at the FACC, Filipino American Community of the Carolinas Facebook account. And you can
Website
also
as well.
email, we also have our website, by the way, facc.org. And they can also email us, faccbod2025@gmail.com. We hope to see you all there.
Yes.
I love this. It's a throwback. It looks just beautiful and elegant and historic and all the things that we want a gala to be. So, Dr. Louis Anquilo,
Yes, ma'am.
D. Villapando, thank you so much for coming in here.
Thank you.
And thank
We
you for
appreciate
gracing
it.
us
Maraming
with
salamat.
Maraming salamat po. Okay. We appreciate them. More information on our website. Happy to share that with you here during October's Filipino American History Month. Thanks, guys. And with that, we are going to take a quick break on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right now on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, happening right now is live, a press conference happening following the North Carolina Legislative House Committee on Redistricting. So let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
To the Congress from North Carolina. She's the first black member to represent North Carolina since 1898. 1901. I'm sorry, I had that wrong. I apologize. Okay. I wonder why I was, yeah. Okay. So, and she's been fighting for rural communities, family farmers, equal opportunity, and as I said, really started the environmental justice movement in our country. Today, as the legislature moves to dismantle the district that she once represented, Congresswoman Clayton joins us to remind North Carolinians what fair representation truly means and why she, as the voice of the first district, must not be silenced. Please join me in welcoming.
Thank you. Look like they're trying to take us back to 1889. I feel bad about that. Well, thank you all for being here, and it is indeed worthy of, not to hear me, but it's worthy of your attention to this. We were afraid that you wouldn't be here. Not in terms of they're trying to move it very fast so people would not know what they were doing. And what I want to tell you is what I'll tell them. Shame, shame on North Carolina General Assembly to take away the will of the people of the 1st Congressional District in northeastern Carolina, a district that is really a swing district. It was from 1901 until 1992, 91 years that a black citizen happened to be elected. It happened to be myself. And North Carolina General Assembly appeared ready now to make it almost impossible for a black citizen to be elected again from North Carolina northeastern area. What motivates the General Assembly to take away this district? I don't know. Our 1st Congressional District is a diverse district with a population that is roughly 48% white, 39% black, 8% Hispanic. It is consistent of small business persons, manufacturers, farmers, public servants, healthcare workers, teachers, firemen, working class people who are trying to keep their status as working class. Too many of our citizens are just trying to make ends meet. They need a representative who cares about their, regardless of their political status, their race. They need someone who understands that district. In 2024 election, this diverse district voted for the Republican candidate for president, and it voted for the Democrat black candidate for Congress. That's democracy. Rather, I agree with it now. The people spoke, and we ought to keep democracy. And again, I ask the question, what motivates this quick redistricting exercise that should occur only when the census is taken, all at the order of the court? No court has ordered this. It's a power grab. 10 Republican districts out of 14 is not enough. They need now 11 out of 14. In the process, let's get rid of a black representative. Congressman Don Davis, a Democrat, is moved from the existing district to the 3rd district, where he is now competing with the existing Republican district. If you cannot understand that as being blatant discrimination, then you don't know what discrimination is. In the process, you have now, how generous of them to think that we don't understand that. The gerrymandering, I strongly reject, where Republicans or even Democrats who do that, not allowing for a competitive area to win, but they're not just trying to have a competitive district. They want to lock in that no Democrat, and especially no black Democrat, will ever win again. The proposed map takes the majority black counties in the 1st Congressional District and submerged it in the Republican area. And again, you know what that's all about. No longer will it be a swing district. No longer will it have the opportunity not only to elect a Democrat or to elect a black Democrat. Hopefully the courts will intercede. We are in a very troubling time in America where democracy is threatened, where the Constitution is being denied and ignored. Citizens who love this country must have the courage to speak up and to speak out. I'm reminded of a hymn that says, God loves, God of love and God of power. Thou hast called us for this hour. And hopefully we will have enough courage to be ready for this courage. Thank you.
Hard to follow that. I'm Bob Phillips, Common Cause, North Carolina, and of course, we're a nonpartisan statewide organization dedicated, among other things, to fight for fair maps. I've been at it so long, Pricey, that I can remember standing in this room with Republicans
All right, we will work through that playback here. It's actually not playback, it's a live feed. And we are taking a look at what is happening on that feed coming through the newsroom right now. So we'll get that back up In the meantime, let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll probably get back up and running here in 2 minutes on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. It looks like that feed needed a little bit of a break because it is back up and running. Let's go back to the protests over North Carolina legislative redistricting on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Use racial data because they could look at a map and know that they were carving out the black belt. And it actually is a violation of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act because it does require us, in the Allen v. Milligan case in the Supreme Court, sort of confirmed that we needed to draw these districts to make sure that African Americans could elect a candidate of their choice. So I believe that they didn't officially, but they already knew it. He's been drawing maps for a decade or more. You want to add anything? Or?
Well, also, you know, they conflate the political piece with African Americans or conflate the political piece with the racial piece. Now, hopefully you're not deceived that that's the case, right? I happen to be black and I happen to be a Democrat, but also I remember when I ran, there were no black Democrats, and Democrats were in control. Okay, I'm living long enough to know when Democrats weren't too good. None of y'all remember that, but anyhow, I remember. I remember that. Not that long ago. Not your lifetime, but my lifetime. So I want to tell you that, hey, a blind old lady could find that when you move Don Davis into a Republican district, not only to a Republican district, but one that's represented by a current representative who's been there for several years, and you tell me that's supposed to be unbiased, non-racial? Well, I have a full moon to tell you too, you know, if you believe that. No. And I hope we can convince the courts too that they can see through that. That's a cover-up. That's a cover-up. If I'm willing to have challenged Democrats in my earlier, I'm willing to challenge them too.
I will add, it's also worth noting that we've spent $15 million in taxpayer money defending indefensible maps so far,
yes.
since Republicans took over.
Yes.
So it's, yeah. Sure.
We're not expecting a vote today, but have you heard from any members across the aisle that they would not vote for this? Anybody that is willing to not put their name to it?
I haven't. I don't know if any of my colleagues have heard. This is the kind of issue where they stick together, unfortunately, I think.
Did I understand you said it will not be a vote today?
Right, it's tomorrow.
Or tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah.
The Senate vote.
We have session at 4, but we're not taking it up. Or redistricting committee at 2, but, yeah. Anybody else, or Adam?
Are y'all worried about the impact that decision in Louisiana versus Scalia's could have on this, on a potential challenge?
Well, that is a very important consideration. Until they make a decision on that, Section 2 is very much alive, and I think we're going to continue to make the point that this proposed map is violative of Section 2, but there's a good chance, based on the questioning, that they may eliminate Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, sort of strip it of any of its meaning, which is a problem, and you've seen analyses that might wipe out any black districts in the South, in the whole South. Sure, go ahead, Rodney. Rep. Pearson.
Good afternoon. My name is Rodney D. Pierce. I'm the state representative for House District 27. That's Halifax, Northampton, and Warren counties. And I'm very honored and pleased to be here beside my political grandmother, Mrs. Eva Clayton. But I just don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's intentional that you are redrawing congressional maps at a time when Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is being heard by the United States Supreme Court. A Supreme Court that has shown us time and time again during this term that they are willing to rule in a way that is going to upend democracy, if you want to put it that way. And I'll also say this, Congressman Davis, what does it say to us here in the General Assembly when you have a congressman who has shown time and time again that he is willing to work in the spirit of bipartisanship? I think Congressman Davis received an award 2 years in a row being the most bipartisan legislator in the House of Representatives in D.C., and they still don't want him there. So what does that say to us when our colleagues are willing to do that, when they draw the maps, and we're told we need to work in a spirit of bipartisanship as well? What does that say to us?
Quick follow-up there, Representative Pierce.
Yes, sir.
Are you worried that the findings in your lawsuit could impact a legal challenge to this map?
The findings in my lawsuit?
Yeah.
Pierce versus North Carolina. I mean, I leave that to the lawyers. I leave that to the Lord and the lawyers. My whole thing was, I know the history of this district. I'm a public school history teacher. I've done historical markers about court cases that are relevant to the voting rights history or the civil rights history of Northeast North Carolina. So I'm very, very aware of what's going on. That's why I joined the lawsuit, because I saw it for what it is, and for a couple of years later, to be going through this now at an even higher level, I mean, that's why I got involved. But I can't concern myself with that. My job is to be here and to represent the people of 27.
Let me respond to the other question. I think that puts the onus on North Carolina. Oh, excuse me. Okay. I think your question about the possibility of the Supreme Court, doing away with Section 2 with the case they considered from Louisiana, I think that puts the onus on all of us who believe that Section 2 should be maintained, not to give up in the light that may go against us, okay? I think it is with that understanding of the possibility that this General Assembly feels that what we ought to push, because guess what? We may not have any problem, when we take it. But I think that's more the reason why we ought to stand up, not less the reason. I know that was not your intent of the question, but I'm just saying that ought to fortify us that our cause is even greater, because they want us to succumb to what the possibility of a loss may be, okay? And so those of us who really, and by the way, you can go both the state and the federal government, right? And as Bob was saying, there may be more opportunity in the state as we look at it. So don't give up before you have to give up, right? Don't defeat yourselves. That's all I'm saying.
And I think it's worth noting that I believe it was Justice Roberts who said in Shelby, in eliminating Section 5, that there was always Section 2.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So, all good?
I'm sorry, this is for Congressman Clayton.
Yeah.
How, you kind of got to this in your remarks, but asked explicitly, how does this new map change kind of the character of the representation for the people who you used to represent?
I haven't looked at how I look more at the demographics in terms of a political. I think there's a possibility of maybe becoming a little more urban. I know the demographics and know the geography and some of the needs.
We are going to go back to that press conference here in just a moment. First, a break on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 1:33 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So we know that a lot of city leaders, county leaders all over the Charlotte area and really the Carolinas trying to bring more sports and entertainment to our areas. It's good for the community, good for the economy. One of those areas is Gastonia, and that's where we find our Walker Lawson. Walker, so what's the word out there that folks are trying to bring more sports and entertainment venues to the area?
Yeah, so what they're working on is this is a commission that the city will be looking at tonight. This is the first time that city officials will be reading over this ordinance, but it's basically to establish a group of around 15 people. They will be some mix of residents, some city staff that will basically be responsible for trying to bring more sporting events and more entertainment events to the area. So one of those areas is the Gastonia Conference Center. There are parks spread out through the area, but also looking at are there other, parks that could use enhancements or upgrades or different things like that to try to secure these groups. Obviously, the Gastonia Ghost Peppers is a prime example of getting a team out into this city, and with them being so close within proximity to the city of Charlotte, they are looking at taking this on as an effort to try to bring more people into the area.
Very cool. I mean, we're looking at a live picture right now of Caramount Park, where they're mowing the lawn. Looks like got to keep the fields up, maintained, Walker. But that costs money. That's going to cost money. So I mean, costs money to bring money, and so this ordinance, the proposed commission. Talk to me about who would make up this group.
Yeah, so, and that's this is the thing, is it's still very early. As we spoke to a city official today, or a city spokesperson rather, that was able to kind of explain this is 15 people, some residents, some city staff. Again, this ordinance tonight is the first time they're hearing it, so there will be changes to this. This will be fluid. This is still just the very beginning of this. Again, so we're also going to be out here talking to businesses today as well, people that want to see more people, more foot traffic. It's good for business, as you said, good for the economy. So we'll have the full story on that tonight at 5:30.
All right, very good. Walker Lawson, thank you, and thank you for bringing us that story. Then, if this is only the beginning, I know you're going to be keeping an eye on that. So, appreciate you checking
longer.
in.
Of course,
From Gastonia. Awesome. All right, back here in the Live Impact studio now, we have been monitoring a live press conference happening in Raleigh. This follows the North Carolina redistricting vote that passed, now headed to the Senate. So it looks like a protest and press conference still happening. Let's go ahead and continue to listen in live on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. It looks like that wrapped up for the afternoon, as the audio has also kicked out. And so with that, we will go to what happened earlier this morning. Vice President J.D. Vance speaking on the current ceasefire between Gaza and Israel. He has traveled to Tel Aviv. His press conference happened early, just an hour ago, wrapping up moments ago. So we are just re-racking this. I'm going to play this for you now here on WCNC Plus.
All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to have you. Look, I think that we are 1 week into President Trump's historic peace plan in the Middle East, and things are going, frankly, better than I expected that they were. This is a very, very tough situation. You have two peoples, two enemies who fought a very tough conflict against each other. You have a terrorist organization on one hand that murdered a lot of innocent people. You've got an Israeli army that was defending itself on the other, that has learned a lot over the past couple of years. And, of course, you have an innocent civilian population in Gaza that's caught in the middle. But we're here at the Civilian Military Cooperation Center, which we are announcing the opening of. You have Israelis and Americans working hand in hand to try to begin the plan to rebuild Gaza, to implement a long-term peace, and to actually ensure that you have security forces on the ground in Gaza, not composed of Americans, who can keep the peace over the long term. So we've got a lot of work left to do. This is going to take a very, very long time, but I think Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and Admiral Cooper behind me have done an incredible job. I want to say just a couple of quick things, and then I want to turn it over to Steve Witkoff. Number one, the Israeli government has been remarkably helpful in this. I want to thank them, thank our Israeli partners, and all the folks, particularly who are working hand in hand with their American friends here at the CMCC. And number two, I want to say that there is this weird attitude I've sensed in the American media and the Western media, where there's almost this desire to root for failure, that every time something bad happens, that every time that there's an act of violence, there's this inclination to say, oh, this is the end of the ceasefire, this is the end of the peace plan. It's not the end. It is, in fact, exactly how this is going to have to happen when you have people who hate each other, who have been fighting against each other for a very long time. We are doing very well. We are in a very good place. We're going to have to keep working on it, but I think we have the team to do exactly that. So with all thanks to our partners, both in Israel, but all across the Gulf Arab states, Indonesia, the Turks, we are doing an amazing thing here, and I'm particularly proud of the American troops working at the command center who are coordinating this effort and making it possible. So with that, I want to thank Ambassador Steve Witkoff and turn it over to him to say a few things, and after everybody's said a few words, we'll take some questions. Thank you, guys. Steve?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. We're really proud of what's happened here. It's an amazing effort. It's a great coordination between our partners. We have a great team. Signing this deal up was a challenge in and of itself, but the implementation, that's where it really is going to be the most important. And I think we are exceeding where we thought we would be at this time. I think the Vice President has come out here. He sees that. The Secretary of State will be out here. I can't tell you what a privilege it is to work with the team that we have, with Jared, who's extraordinary, the President, of course, and the Vice President, and Admiral Cooper. I would also say this. We're learning so much here. This CMCC that we're setting up now, this is going to be used in other conflicts as we figure out all the intricacies of how to modulate a peace deal, go from war to peace. Lastly, in closing, I want to speak about the morning that me and Jared had. We met with 10 hostages and their families, and it was really an emotional moment. And I felt blessed to be in that room. Lots of tears, Lots of people really, really grateful to President Trump for getting their children home, and you, of course, Mr. Vice President. And I want to observe that I didn't see any victims in that room. I saw strong people who have come out under very difficult circumstances. Their families are reunited, and they are so grateful. And it was just my privilege as an American to be there. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Jared?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you, Steve. First of all, we really appreciate your visit here. It's given a great boost of energy to everyone here, and your support through this whole effort has been really tremendous. What you see here today is really the opening of the CMCC. This has been something that's been envisioned by CENTCOM. Admiral Cooper will speak about that in a bit. But we always knew that the deal that we were working on would kind of have two phases to it. The first phase was obviously getting the live hostages out. We're currently making progress on the hostages, the bodies that are still there. I think almost half are out now, and we had very good meetings with the Israelis. I know the Vice President's here to put a lot of effort into that today to hopefully make sure we can complete that mission in phase 2. At the same time, the humanitarian aid, there's actually been surprisingly strong coordination between the United Nations and Israel, which is something that we've been able to help synthesize, get each other to air their concerns and to find out how we can do it better so that the aid reaches the people in Gaza and doesn't go into the wrong hands there. Finally, I'll say that there has already been a lot of efforts over the last years by really concerned people to think about what happens next in Gaza. And there's a lot of great things happening here. More will be released in the coming days. But the most important thing here is to figure out how you really get a good deconfliction coordination center. This really has been a startup. There's been a lot that's been done. It's amazing to think it's only been a week. But I actually, with the pace of work and the commitment of everybody, I think in a week from now you'll see even more progress. I want to echo what the Vice President said about how a lot of people are getting a little hysterical about different incursions one way or the other, but what we are seeing is that things are going in accordance. Both sides are transitioning from 2 years of very intense warfare to now a peacetime posture, and really thanks to Admiral Cooper, CENTCOM, and the CMCC to try to build that deconfliction mechanism in order to make sure that we can get to a proper de-escalation. We have some flags that we put up here. This is not fully representative of the countries that are here. It's happening very rapidly. The people are agreeing to come on board, agreeing to help. People really want to be a part of this, and it's just happening very, very quickly. So we'll try to continue to give the updates as it progresses, but really just thank you to the entire team here who's made all this possible. It's been a lot of sleepless nights, around the clock effort, and it's really been great coordination because everyone believes that it is possible to create something better in Gaza, and we have to believe it, we have to work hard for it, and if we all work hard to do that, then I do believe a great outcome is possible.
Well, Mr. Vice President, thank you for joining us here today at the CMCC. Consistent with our Commander-in-Chief's direction, this facility will be the hub for the delivery of everything that goes into Gaza as we look to the future, delivering on the Commander-in-Chief's commitments. 200 of America's sons and daughters who wear the cloth of the nation have stepped up and are serving here. I just couldn't be prouder, and I know that you are as well. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Admiral. And gentlemen, we'll take a few questions now. Sir.
I wanted to ask about the Turkish role. It's very concerning for Israelis. Turkey obviously has been a supporter of Hamas. What role will they have, and will they have troops that will be on the ground here or in the Gaza Strip? Thank you.
Well, I think first of all, what troops are on the ground in Israel is going to be a question the Israelis have to agree to, and I'm sure that Prime Minister Netanyahu will have opinions about that, but we think everybody has a role to play here. Some of that's going to be financial, some of that's going to be in reconstruction, some of that's just in communication with the various parties to ensure that this deconfliction process actually works and is implemented. We're not going to force anything on our Israeli friends when it comes to foreign troops on their soil, but we do think that there's a constructive role for the Turks to play, and frankly, they've already played a very constructive role. We're very grateful for that. And you asked, they've supported Hamas in the past. No one who is a party to this conflict can look in the past and not point at something that they don't like or that they disagree with. Everybody who's been involved in this conflict can point at one other person, one of these flags can point at another flag and say, we hate that person for various reasons. The way that we're going to get to peace is to focus on the future, which is what the President of the United States has asked us to do, and we think everybody here is very willing to do that and is very eager to engage in that effort. Ma'am.
The ceasefire deal took months to negotiate. What do you think the likelihood is that it will last long term? If you had to put a number on it, a percentage.
Well, Jared's the investor here. I'm not going to give you a percentage, but look, what we've seen the past week gives me great optimism the ceasefire is going to hold. And if we get from where we were a week ago to a long-term, durable peace between Israel and Gaza, there are going to be hills and valleys. There are going to be moments where it looks like things aren't going particularly well. But given that, and given the history of conflict, I think that everybody should be proud of where we are today. It's going to require constant effort. It's going to require constant monitoring and supervision. That's part of the reason that Admiral Cooper and his team is here, is to mediate these disputes, to mediate these disagreements as they come up. But look, right now, I feel very optimistic. Can I say with 100% certainty that it's going to work? No. But you don't do difficult things by only doing what's 100% certain. You do difficult things by trying, and that's what the President of the United States has asked us to do. Sir.
We're putting a pause in those previous remarks from Vice President Vance as he is talking from Tel Aviv, and wrapping up just moments ago. We're going to take a quick break here on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Welcome back to Live Impact News here on WCNC+. We were playing for you earlier Vice President's remarks as he is holding a press conference from Tel Aviv, speaking on the ceasefire with other delegates and advisors to the Trump administration. Let's continue to play those remarks for you here on WCNC+.
Mr. President, Suleiman Masoud from Cannes. First of all, thank you for brokering the ceasefire deal. Two questions for you. Hamas was supposed to bring back all the hostages within 72 hours. There are still deceased hostages that are still in Gaza. Will you put a deadline for Hamas to bring back all these hostages? And second thing, President Trump tweeted about this today, Hamas killing their own people in Gaza, Palestinians who worked for Israel. What is your warning to Hamas about that?
Yeah, so Steve, I'm going to ask you to follow up here, but let me say just a couple of words about the deceased hostages. I mean, one of the stations that I met with, one of the groups that's working on this that I met with earlier, they actually have a photo of the 15 deceased hostages who are still in Gaza. It is a focus of everybody here to get those bodies back home to their families so that they can have a proper burial. Now, that said, this is difficult. This is not going to happen overnight. Some of these hostages are buried under thousands of pounds of rubble. Some of the hostages, nobody even knows where they are. That doesn't doesn't mean we shouldn't work to get them, and that doesn't mean we don't have confidence that we will. It's just a reason to counsel in favor of a little bit of patience. This is going to take a little bit of time. And look, our warning to Hamas is very straightforward. The terms of the 20-point plan that the president put out there is very clear. It's supported not just by Israel, but by all of our Gulf Arab friends. It's that Hamas has to disarm. It's that Hamas has to actually behave itself, and that Hamas, while all the fighters can be given some sort of clemency, they're not going to be able to kill each other, and they're not going to be able to kill their fellow Palestinians. Now, again, that's going to take a little bit of time. We're talking about how to set up the security and humanitarian apparatus to put all this in place. But right now, where I stand, I feel confident that we're going to be in a place where this peace lasts, where it's durable. And if Hamas doesn't cooperate, then as the President of the United States has said, Hamas is going to be obliterated. Steve, do you want to add anything about the hostages?
I think you said it, sir.
Okay, great. Ma'am.
Chambers from USA Today. Just to follow up on what you were just saying, how much time does Hamas have to lay down its arms before the United States either takes dramatic action or authorizes its allies to do so?
Well, look, the president actually put out a truth this morning that I thought was very instructive. We know that Hamas has to comply with the deal, and if Hamas doesn't comply with the deal, very bad things are going to happen. But I'm not going to do what the President of the United States has thus far refused to do, which is put an explicit deadline on it, because a lot of this stuff is difficult. A lot of this stuff is unpredictable. You basically have two regions in Gaza, one of which is relatively safe, I wouldn't say very safe, and one of which is incredibly dangerous. And part of ensuring that we get to a durable peace is to broaden the scope of the area that's safe. And the International Security Force is a big part of that. We don't yet have the International Security Force set up. That's something we're working towards. We have a number of volunteers who want to participate in that international security force. So my point is, I don't think it's actually advisable for us to say this has to be done in a week, because a lot of this work is very hard. It's never been done before. And in order for us to give it a chance to succeed, we've got to be a little bit flexible. I think what you're seeing from our Gulf Arab friends, certainly from our Israeli friends, is a certain amount of impatience with Hamas. But we're going to keep on working at this process, and we're going to keep on trying to bring the deceased hostages home, but also make sure that all Gazans are able to live in a prosperous and safe place. Yes.
So the White House indicated that actually there is a plan to start rebuilding Gaza, the parts of Gaza which is still under Israeli control. Is it so indeed? And can you tell us a little bit about this plan? How is it going to work?
Yeah, Jared, you want to say a few words about that? Okay.
So, first of all, no reconstruction aid, no reconstruction funds will be going into areas that Hamas still controls. And as far as the demilitarization goes, once the ISF is up, there needs to be a security force that they can feel safe from, that in order for it to be the transition to be complete. So that needs to happen. There are considerations being happening now in the area that the IDF controls, as long as that can be secured to start the construction as a new Gaza, in order to give the Palestinians living in Gaza a place to go, a place to get jobs, a place to live. So that's one of the many things being considered. Right now, again, there's been several work streams that have occurred over the last years. Those are all being synthesized and updated here at the center, and then they'll go before President Trump and the Board of Peace to get recommendations on what to build, how to phase it, but that's definitely something now that's being very strongly considered.
Great. Sir?
Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, sorry. Why don't we do the guy in the back, and then we'll do you in the blue jacket. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice President.
Could you speak up?
Yeah, I will try. So thank you so much, Mr. Vice President. And my question is, from the level of cooperation that you just saw today here in this place, how you see the, let's say, future of normalization in Israel in the region, if you see like a cooperation, growing cooperation between Israel and other Gulf states that we don't.
You know, I think Steve put it best, which is that this model, I think, could serve for a foundation for normalization, not just in the Middle East, but across the world. Because what we're taking, again, is a long-term, protracted conflict of two enemies who really don't like each other, and we're actually creating a model that can lead towards sustainable peace. Now, we know that a lot of our Gulf Arab friends would like to have normalized relations with Israel. We know that getting this peace on a sustainable pathway is sort of the critical first step of that. But look, I feel very optimistic about where we are. Knock on wood, you never know how this stuff is going to go. But given what I've seen, given the incredible talent and effort that's going in to the reconstruction of Gaza, to the long-term security of the Gazans in that territory, I feel very good about where we are. And again, if we get this right, I really do think it's going to be a domino that leads to a lot of further peace all across the region. Sir.
Vice President Vance, if I may ask, firstly, a quick one is, did you come here because you thought Israel massively overreacted to the killing of its 2 soldiers? And secondly, following the reaction to this plan, do you now believe it is feasible to have a governance structure for Gaza that does not include strong Palestinian voices?
Well, so on the first question, no. My visit had nothing to do with events of the past 48 hours. We had actually tried to plan this visit, frankly, months ago, and now we thought this would be a good time to do it. It ended up working out. As you know, sometimes calendars are difficult, especially when you're the Vice President of the United States. But I wanted to come. I wanted to check in on things. I wanted to, talk to the troops who are working very hard to coordinate this massive relief effort, and I wanted to just see how things were going and put some eyes on it so I could call the President of the United States and actually, it's one thing to read about it. It's one thing to talk with Jared and Steve on the phone about what's going on the ground. It's another thing to actually shake somebody's hand, to look them in the eye and to understand what are the challenges, what are the things they need from me. I mean, I heard from relatively junior troops very simple things that would make their lives easier that I'm going to take back to Washington and hopefully help them with. That's why you do a visit like this, not because of anything that's happening on the ground. On your question about what is the ultimate, authority in Gaza look like, I don't know the answer to that question. And I think what's so cool, what's so amazing about what these guys have done is that we're creating a governance structure that is very flexible to what happens on the ground in the future. We need to reconstitute Gaza. We need to reconstruct Gaza. We need to make sure that both the Palestinians living in Gaza but also the Israelis are able to live in some measure of security and stability. We're doing all of those things simultaneously. And then I think once we've got to a point where both the Gazans and our Israeli friends can have some measure of security, then we'll worry about what the long-term governance of Gaza is. Let's focus on security, rebuilding, giving people some food and medicine. If we get to the point where we're arguing exactly what the governance structure in Gaza is long-term, then we should pat ourselves on the back. That's a very good problem to have, but I won't anticipate that problem before we actually have it. I'll take a couple more and then we'll get moving. Ma'am. You should speak up.
Renata Brito with the Associated Press. Could you give a bit more details about the International Security Force, which countries are going to be part of this? Are these troops in Gaza? And also about the disarmament plan or decommission plan. Are there incentives for Hamas to do that in a timely fashion? Any details?
The incentives are that unless Hamas disarms in accordance with the agreement, very bad things are going to happen, right? And also the incentive is that if they disarm, there is a better future for everybody on the other side of it. But in terms of the International Security Force, Steve and Jared, Admiral Cooper, are working on that very issue right now. Remember, this peace deal was struck under the president's leadership literally a week ago. The hostages were returned, 6 days ago, 5 days ago? So we're in the phase now where we're actually starting to conceptualize what that International Security Force would look like. I think it's important for Americans to know a couple of things. Number one, there are not going to be American boots on the ground in Gaza. The President of the United States has made that very clear. All of our military leadership has made that very clear. What we can do is provide some useful coordination. How do you take, the Gulf Arab states, plus Israel, plus plus the Turks, plus the Indonesians, how do you actually get those folks to work together in a way that actually produces long-term peace? The only real mediators are the United States of America. And so that's the role that we're going to play. I think the American people should be proud of it, but they should know that there are going to be no American boots on the ground in Gaza. Sir in the back.
I'd like to ask about a different threat. We see Iran rearming again, trying to build again their nuclear weapon. Could we expect in Israel to see the U.S. Army attacking again in Iran?
Could you ask the very last part?
Could we expect the U.S. Army to attack again in Iran like you did in the last time in Fordow?
Well, I'm not going to make any announcements here today. The President of the United States has been very clear about our policy with regards to Iran. It's that he actually wants Iran to be prosperous. He wants to have good relations with the Iranians, but they cannot have a nuclear weapon. And so we're going to keep on using and exhausting every diplomatic means possible to try to ensure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. That's our focus, and that will remain our focus for the indefinite future. Let me just leave us with one final thought here. So I've been to Israel once in my entire life. I came for about 36 hours, and as a Christian, I think the world's Christians will know that this country, that this region of the world means a great deal to me. And at some point today, I hope to go, or at some point in the next couple of days, I should say, I hope to go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which Christians believe is the site that Jesus Christ was crucified in. And I know that Christians have many titles for Jesus Christ, and one of them is the Prince of Peace. And I'd ask all people of faith, in particular my fellow Christians, to pray that the Prince of Peace can continue to work a miracle in this region of the world. I think that we have made incredible strides over the past week. We're going to have to make a lot more, but I think with your prayers, with God's providence, and with a very good team behind me, I think we're going to get it done. Thank you all. Take care.
All right, you were just listening in to Vice President J.D. Vance speaking on tensions in the Middle East. We have some more local news to get to, but we'll come back to that in just 2 minutes after this quick break. Welcome back to Live Impact News. Just past top of the hour, 2:03 here. I'm Julie Kay, in for Jane for a bit. We're going to be here for the next 2 hours getting a look at your local news, your national news, another check of your forecast coming up. First, though, we want to start with a story we've been following since last week out of Union County Public Schools. They were looking for a way to boost teacher pay with a supplement of $1,000, and teachers are saying they have not received that. So I know we finally got an update from the school. Autumn is here, who's been following this. Now, Autumn, what is going on here, and what's the latest information?
Hey, Julia, a lot of controversy surrounding this issue. I actually spoke earlier this morning with a couple of teachers who say they're concerned about them not receiving the teacher supplemental pay increases, and so they are calling for action. And tomorrow, actually, they have a planned, some of the teachers actually plan to call out and go to the school board of education office, stand outside tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and kind of voice their concerns about this issue. They say, you know, not only do they want the $1,000, they want $2,000. That was what was originally discussed months ago with the Union County commissioners. And since then, well, as of now, they've received no funding. But right now, they're calling for $2,000 of supplemental pay teacher increases. And so it's definitely a concern amongst them.
So when did they expect that they were going to get this, and how long has this concern kind of been brewing? I know we started talking about this last week, but I'm sure this came.
Yeah, this has been going on for months. I know I spoke with Union County commissioners. They said they had agreed upon the teachers would receive, these funds back in May. That's when they originally made the agreement, but they were supposed to receive them when the school year started. So they still have not received them. And so the school board, they met earlier today, and so they discussed and proposed that $1,000 with the current funds they have right now. They propose that $1,000 will go towards the teachers, but that has to be approved. And November 6th is when there's going to be a vote by the Board of Education to determine if the teachers are going to receive that amount.
Now, $1,000 for all the teachers in Union County Public Schools, that's a lot of money, I'm sure. Did they plan for this? It sounds like this is kind of an afterthought, something that they had promised, and now here we are in November.
Well, yeah, one of the concerns from the school board is that they had state budget concerns, so that kind of impacted them being able to give that extra funding. And one of the other things that was highlighted within the press conference this morning is they have a variety of needs they have to take care of as the UCPS. So, that includes from, people other than teachers. And so if they don't have the funding, they can only do as much as they can. So I know that was definitely a concern. But you mentioned $1,000. The teachers say, of course, it's a step forward, but it's not what they want in the grand scheme of things. They say they're one of the top performing schools within the district, and they're being paid, I think one of the teachers referenced, the 37th highest paid in the state. So it's not adding up. They deserve that additional compensation.
When you talk about teacher pay in general, you talk about compared to the rest of the state, but the state itself is very low on the list of the country as well. And part of that is, you mentioned the state budget wrapped up in that. They can't increase teacher pay until that state budget gets passed. Did teachers mention, hey, this is a larger issue past Union County schools?
They did. I asked, beyond you all planning to call out tomorrow, what are the next steps? They said they hope this serves like an inspiration for, other areas throughout the state, because this issue has got to be addressed. It's something, they deserve, and they definitely put in the work, and we know our teachers are so, implemental to everybody's lives, a lot of people's.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you're going to be on our shows later this afternoon. Anything else people need to know right now that I haven't asked about?
Yeah, so of course we'll be keeping you updated, and tomorrow that meeting is slated for 9 a.m., excuse me.
6 would be early.
I know, that would be early.
All right, 9 a.m., I'm sure we'll be following that, and you can see Autumn's story at 4 and 6. Autumn, thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, we're going to turn now to, as I mentioned, another check of your forecast, I believe. James, do we have some local weather?
We will do that in just a moment, Julie. You're correct. That's what I had on deck, but I see our meeting in Raleigh has started.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Let's get to that, because that's really interesting. This is the House Committee on Redistricting. Of course, North Carolina at the center of this current debate about redrawing maps to sway the shift of Democrats versus Republicans in U.S. Congress. This started with Republicans in Texas, then Democrats in California, and now Republicans here are trying to do it. The redrawn map would shift one of our seats on the eastern side, most likely to favor a Republican over the current Democrat in office. And this is expected to move through very quickly, as you don't need more than a simple majority, which Republicans easily have in both chambers of the state legislature. The governor, a Democrat, also is not allowed to veto this. So it's moving very fast. I covered this last night when the Senate committee approved it. So this would be the next step. Really interesting today, though, because I believe they're supposed to hear some public comment. So we're going to keep an eye on this. I will stop talking so we can listen in.
And walk each of you through the House's process regarding redistricting. On Friday, October 10th, I, along with Co-Chair Blackwell, emailed our consultant asking him to begin work on Monday, October 13th, here in Raleigh. The House consultant is Mr. Blake Springhetti, who is based in Columbus, Ohio. He previously worked for the Ohio legislature and has prior experiences redistricting Ohio, and also as a consultant for North Carolina House during the 2023 redistricting process. In that email to our consultant, we provided instructions for Mr. Springhetti to adhere to in constructing the map. Those instructions are as follows. Number one, Data identifying the race of individuals or voters shall not be used in the construction or consideration of districts in the 2025 congressional plan. Number 2, draw Congressional District 1, known as CD1, to increase the Republican vote share of CD1 in the 2023 congressional plan codified in Senate Bill 757 on October 25, 2023. Unless otherwise directed, you may consider any of the election results referenced in number 8 below, but you may only adjust the boundaries of CD1 and Congressional District 3, known as CD3. Number 3, draw congressional districts to comply with federal standards for equal population. Number 4, draw congressional districts that are contiguous. Contiguity by a point is not permitted, but contiguity by water is permissible. Number 5, to extent feasible, draw districts that are visually reasonably compact. No mathematical tests are required. Number 6, take reasonable measures to draw districts that respect and follow contiguous municipal boundaries. Number 7, take reasonable measures to draw districts that do not split VTDs. Number 8, political data should be considered. You may use any election or political data that is loaded onto the computer provided to you by the North Carolina General Assembly. Number 9, an incumbent state house's members' local knowledge of communities of interest may be considered. And number 10, all work is to be completed at the legislative complex here in Raleigh on equipment provided by the North Carolina General Assembly. The election contest data in the stat pack before you, and that is also available on the committee website, was considered in the creation of the plan. But the primary focus was on the election contest data from the 2024 presidential race. So as stated in the drawing process that began here at the General Assembly on Monday, October 13th, let me be clear and let me emphasize, racial data was not used. Ultimately, we decided to proceed with the map put forward by Senator Heiss, who you're going to hear from regarding the details of this map. The map was then publicly released last Thursday, October the 16th, and the public comment portal was open, giving the general public time to submit public comments for our review. We will vote this bill out of committee today, and it will be on the House floor for a final vote tomorrow. To everyone listening, the House is here today because California and the radical left launched a full-fledged coordinated attack. Mr. Chair.
Up until now, we've been doing pretty well. I don't want to have to ask the sergeants at arms to remove people, but we'll have to contain those outbursts, please. So let's go back to being under control so we can get through this meeting and everybody can get their say. We don't need your reactions to what others are saying. Chair Jones, would you continue?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, we'll try it one more time. To everyone listening, the House is here today because of California and the radical left launched a full-fledged coordinated attack not only on North Carolina, but on the integrity of democracy itself. I've got bad news for Gavin Newsom and the radical left. North Carolina will not stand by while I tried to be undermine the will of the voters and stack the deck in D.C. Well, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
The chair recognizes Senator Heiss to come forward. Welcome, Senator Heiss. We love having you over here, especially when you're agreeable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. Members, before you is the proposed 2025 congressional map. We had a robust discussion in the Senate committee, heard public comment from everyone who signed up to speak yesterday, had hours of debate on the Senate floor yesterday and earlier today. I will not repeat everything I said, but I will say a few things about this redistricting plan. The motivation behind this draw was to produce a Republican seat to North Carolina's congressional delegation. Republicans hold a razor-thin margin in the United States House of Representatives, and if Democrats flip 4 seats in the upcoming midterm elections, they will take control of the House and torpedo President Trump's agenda. President Trump has called on Republican-controlled states across the country to redraw congressional maps, and this map answers that call. On the issue of race, to be clear, consistent with our practices this decade, in 2023 and in 2021, absolutely no racial data was used in the creation of this map. Past decisions and court records demonstrate there is no evidence of the 3 jingles preconditions in North Carolina. In fact, just weeks ago, a federal court told us in a case concerning Senate districts in the northeastern part of the state, there was no evidence of legally significant racially polarized voting that would require a majority-minority district. In the absence of any evidence of the 3 jingles preconditions, the chairs, myself of the Senate, elected not to use race in drawing these proposed districts strictly to protect the state from lawsuits alleging illegal racial gerrymandering. The chairs do not believe the use of racial data would have been helpful in reaching any political or other legislative redistricting goal. Any political consideration and line drawings have been influenced by political data, not racial data. Now to the plan before you. The new congressional plan makes no changes to 12 of the 14 districts. The only districts that were changed in the new map are NC1 and NC3. These changes in the new congressional plan consist of the following. Greene, Lenoir, Wayne, and Wilson counties are moved from NC1 to NC3. Beaufort, Carteret, Craven, Dare, Hyde, and Pamlico counties are moved from NC3 to NC1. To balance the population of the 2 districts, 4,853 people by the 2020 census numbers out of 204,576 in Onslow County, 2.4% of the population, are moved from NC3 to NC1. This split occurs in the Swansboro precinct, leaving as much of the town in one district, NC1, as possible, minimizing the municipal split. As I stated previously, the motivation behind this new plan is straightforward. The new congressional map improves Republican political strength in eastern North Carolina. It moves NC1 from a district where President Trump earned 51% of the vote in 2024 to a district that would have produced 55% of the vote, an increase of 4 points. To balance the strength, NC3 would lose the same amount that NC1 gains, 4 points, moving it from a district which Trump performed at 60% of the vote in the previous map to 56% in the new map. The end result is a congressional plan that should perform to elect 11 Republicans. Not only does the new congressional map better improve Republican political strength in eastern North Carolina, giving Republican candidates a better opportunity to win NC1, the new map adheres to traditional redistricting principles. You all can review the compactness reports, but the bottom line is that this map is more compact than the 23 map in all recognized measures. I would urge your support.
Thank you, Senator Heiss. Are there questions or comments at this point from members of the committee? Representative Harrison is ready to go.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. And I have a question for Chair Jones and a question for Chair Hayes, and then I'm going to make my comments, if I may. Is that okay?
I think that sounds reasonable.
Great, thank you. Chair Jones, I was surprised to hear you describe y'all's efforts at drawing your own map. I just had heard Senator Hines talk about the process in the Senate, and I just assumed that y'all were working together on that. So you all, the House, worked separately to develop your own map with the criteria that you gave to Mr. Springhetti, and then you decided that you preferred the map. Were they similar? I'm just trying to figure out how you reached the conclusion to go with the
Chair Jones is recognized to respond.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Representative. Yes, we chose Senator Heiss's map over. Yes.
Thank you. And Senator Heiss, I listened to the Senate committee and I listened to the floor debate, and I don't want to waste the chamber's time adjudicating all the questions. So, but I did have one that I did not hear asked, and I'm wondering, because I didn't hear Chair Jones mention it either, were communities of interest taken into account for the drawing of this map?
Senator Heiss, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Communities of interest are always considered in maps. We have predominantly divided those by what are voter tabulation districts, or often referred to as precincts. We continued to keep counties as whole as possible. As I mentioned, with Swansboro, we kept it as whole as possible in making that division. We divided one additional county in this map, and those are things we have always considered as communities of interest. There was no formal definition establishing a new community of interest that had not been part of our redistricting up to this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I might dispute that communities of interest sometimes exceed the boundaries of VTDs, but thank you for that. So I just want to respond to some of the points that
You're recognized for your comments.
Thank you, and I will try and be as brief as possible, but there's a lot to say. So I have to dispute the claim that California started this. Texas started it at the behest of President Trump, who saw his potential for losing control of the House in 2026 elections as slipping away, and is asking states, and it's not just Texas, it's also Missouri, Indiana, other states are looking at redistricting to provide more Republican-drawn districts. And why is this wrong? President Trump is not very popular in North Carolina right now. I think his approval rating is below 40%. Many of his actions are meeting with great disapproval, and also blocked by the courts because they're illegal or unconstitutional. So I'm not sure that we should be drawing maps at the behest of President Trump that are clearly in conflict with what the citizens of North Carolina want. So there's that. The Duke study found that this map is the most gerrymandered and least responsive in North Carolina history. That's really saying something, because we've had some bad maps before, and this is bad. The process others are going to speak to, but the fact that we crunched this down into it's been a week, but the public's only known about it since Thursday afternoon, and we've had, unlike 2011 when we had 65 public hearings around the state, 14 in 2021, and several in the 2023 redraw. This is it for public participation and in the Senate committee, but we do have over 11,000 comments in the public portal, which I just found out only us on the committee are receiving those. Our colleagues don't have them if you're not on the committee. But that's really something, and the themes have been pretty consistent. Unhappy with President Trump, really unhappy with gerrymandering, very much want fair maps and independent redistricting. And this is, I don't know that that's what this map reflects. In fact, I'm pretty sure, because I listened to the Senate debate, that the Senate didn't take into account any public input when they were drawing the map. I hope this committee will, but I don't know how that's going to happen. So we've got the first redrawn congressional district mid-decadal in North Carolina history that wasn't at the request of the courts. So there's another record for us. there is no competitiveness. We no longer have a district that is competitive. It's a 12-2 map in a 50-50 state. We've got a 12-2 map without one competitive congressional district. We've got a president, as I said, we've got a very unpopular agenda, historically low approval ratings, yet we are drawing a map for him to maintain control of the Congress when we have severe cuts in Medicaid come into our districts. We have SNAP benefits cut. We have environmental justice programs ended. We have environmental protections removed. We have the entire clean energy investments withdrawn. The list is really long, and it's all very unpopular. I will say that y'all are sick of hearing me talk about it, but while we still have a Voting Rights Act Section 2, this map clearly violates that section. There is and I disagree respectfully with Senator Heiss that about that court ruling on the Senate districts, because I think maybe the plaintiffs didn't make their case. But it's pretty clear that there is evidence that majority black populations can choose a candidate of their choice given the opportunity, but this has not given them the opportunity because they're shifting the districts between Representative Murphy and Representative Davis in a way that we will not have a black Democrat representing that section of the state. And I'm really excited that Eva Clayton is here, who was the first black woman elected to the House since 1901. Elected to the U.S. House from North Carolina since 1901.
Representative Harrison, excuse me for interrupting you, and I don't mean to be unreasonable. We've got other members of the committee, and my biggest concern is that we've sort of intended to give an hour for public comment, and there will be an opportunity for debate on the motion itself. If you might finish up.
I'm wrapping up. I'm almost done. I don't think I'll speak again. So thank you, Chair Blackwell. I just want to comment that everything about this process is wrong, and I know we're going to hear that from the public that's come to speak. Out of the 11,000 plus comments, my wonderful legislative assistant found 3 who favored the maps. So anyway, I appreciate your indulgence. I'm just so angry about what we're doing to our democracy today that I'm having a hard time containing myself, and thank you all for coming to speak. Thank you.
Do other members of the committee have questions or comments at this point? And again, as I just said, we are going to have debate available, but Representative Ball, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question for Senator Heiss.
Senator Heiss, you're recognized for an answer.
Senator Heiss, I listened to the Senate presentation yesterday and the questions that you were asked, and recall that you were asked if anyone else had anything to do with drawing this map, and you indicated that they did not, that no one else was involved, it was just you. Can you explain the difference between what you said yesterday and what Chair Jones told us just a bit ago?
So first, let me clear up the inaccuracies on that. I did indicate that I was accompanied by legal staff and others, as well as central staff and pro tem staff that were involved in that, in both the mechanics and the others of drawing the map. There were no other members present when I drew these maps. I think Representative Jones can say what he was saying. Something else was going on somewhere else in the House. But we completed the map. We sent the map out. Decisions were made. No input was given back to us on changes to the map after I had completed the drawing. And so the development and drawing of the map was completely done by me as the only member that was available there. I don't know what else you're looking for, but it was a sole decision. The House made the decision to proceed with that map. And as Representative Jones has said, they were looking at other things as well.
Just a quick follow-up, if I might.
You're recognized for a follow-up.
Thank you, Senator Heiss. That clarifies it a bit for me. But I'm also wondering, and actually want to express my concern, which I'll debate a little bit later, that you indicated that the map was sent out. It was not sent out to the members of the House of Representatives who are Democrats, at least, and on this committee. At least I did not receive it, and I don't think any of my colleagues did. So what you mean is that you sent it out to the Republicans in the House, and there was no change to yours. Is that right?
Senator Heiss.
It depends on your timeline for that. On Thursday, the map was released publicly to everyone without any changes from where it was going. In that interim time, it went to both legal counsel and other people to who were making those decisions. That's correct.
That's it. Thank you.
Other questions or comments at this time from members of the committee? Representative Carney?
Well, I guess you saw the hesitation in my hand.
Well, you can take it back if you would like.
No, I would like a question of the chair.
Yes.
So when...
All right, 2:30 here. You've been listening into for the last few minutes the House Redistricting Committee. They are following up on what the Senate did yesterday as they passed through this new map where they've redrawn the districts so that another seat would go to the Republicans as opposed to the currently the Democrat that holds that seat in the northeast part of the state. We're going to keep coming back to that meeting throughout because it is very important, and I know we really want to hear that public comment period that the House is going to listen to. But we're going to take a quick 2-minute break first, and when we come back, we'll have some health news to talk about. Stick with us. Welcome back to Live Impact News. I'm Julie Kay here in the studio. We've got some health news that we want to get to today. A really important topic, of course, is breast cancer. We talk about this all the time and the importance of getting checked, the importance of staying up to date. But the news today is that we have a rapidly increasing prevalence of one type of cancer that is particularly hard to detect on mammograms. So we have an expert here, Dr. Lori Gentile with Novant Health. Dr. Gentile, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about what people need to know. What is this type of cancer, and what are we seeing in terms of that pattern?
So recently, this was a study that was published by the American Cancer Society and looking at what is called invasive lobular breast carcinoma and the statistics for 2025. And they looked at the incidence and some various information about this type of cancer between the years of 2012 and 2021. Ultimately, the cancer is called, it's a type of breast cancer. It's the second most common type of breast cancer called invasive lobular carcinoma. What's tricky about this cancer is that the way it grows is it can be difficult to detect both clinically by physical exam of the breast and on mammogram, which is the most common screening exam that we recommend for women.
So what do people need to do to protect themselves from something like this that isn't necessarily as easily caught on the normal advice that we give people, which is to do those self-checks and to get your regular mammograms?
Well, the good news is that once found invasive lobular carcinoma, the outcomes are actually very, very good when it's found at an early stage. And we do know that even though it can be more difficult to see and find at an early stage on mammogram, annual screening mammogram is still the best test that we have. Ultimately, this is typically found early when patients are doing those mammograms every single year versus skipping mammograms or have many years where they don't get one. So that is still very, very important. And ultimately, it is this news and data that's leading researchers to look into new ways to detect this kind of cancer earlier and better.
Yeah, and I know that's so important to stay on top of things because things change so quickly when we talk about health news. I think that's what's so interesting about this particular type is I'm reading here from the description, growing at triple the rate of other types of breast cancer. So this is, I imagine, pretty uncommon to see a growth like this.
Yep. And so ultimately, the incidence, it makes up in 2012, it makes up about 11 out of every 100,000 cases of breast cancer. So it's still pretty rare, or 11 out of every 100,000 women. And that incidence over all those years increased to about 14 to 100,000. So it's still a small number, but it is a 3% annual incidence increase compared to just under 1% for all other types of breast cancer. So it is becoming a little more common for us to see in all of the diagnoses of breast cancer that we see.
I know that breast cancer is something that all women are paying attention to. This is something that we tell people from a pretty young age to pay attention to. How are your conversations, if at all, with patients changing with the way that some of these diagnoses are harder to detect?
Yeah, and so I think the big thing is really just like you mentioned, most national guidelines do recommend initiation of screening at the age of 40, and then every year or every other year, at least into the mid-70s, and that's a discussion that can be had with your primary provider. We also strongly recommend what we call breast self-awareness, knowing what is normal for your breasts and recognizing it and looking out for any changes that seem out of the ordinary and bringing those to the attention of your doctor or provider.
Anything else people need to know about this? I know that this is such a complicated topic, and having an expert here is really, really helpful. Is there anything you think people wouldn't know that they need to take away from this?
I think that, the message is that continued screening, just like you mentioned, and then ultimately noticing even subtle changes to the breast. So the one way this can be a little sneaky cancer is that it doesn't create a hard lump or bump, which oftentimes people think about with breast cancer. It can be very subtle when it is found on clinical exam, such as subtle changes to size of the breast or fullness of the breast. So really subtle things that patients may notice, but changes. So really just an awareness. Breast cancer is common. It happens to 1 in 8 of us women. And so always something that we should be cognizant for and keep up to date with our health checks and screenings.
I know every person is different. Is this particular type of cancer, though, different in terms of treatment or just in terms of the way it's detected?
So interestingly, most of these cancers are estrogen-driven, which is the most common type of breast cancer as well. And so the treatments are typically very effective. And like I said, when caught at early stages, before it has spread to lymph nodes or other part of the bodies, the outlooks are very, very good and even better than some of our traditional invasive ductal carcinoma. So hence it is responsive to most treatments that we have and the most common treatments that are given. And we do have some areas for research. It is resistant to chemotherapy, but the great news with breast cancer treatment these days is that we have lots of options in addition to chemotherapy, many targeted options. So I think the key is really, really finding this early.
Yeah, absolutely. Early detection is key, and the studies like this that keep us on top of things is also very, very helpful, though. So, Dr. Gentile, thank you so much for breaking this down for us. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah. We're going to have all that information on our website as well. If you want to go back and look at any of that, we're going to take another quick break, and I'll be back in 2 minutes. Coming back on the air with some breaking news. Immigration enforcement activity scenes that you're looking at live in both New York, that's on the right side of your screen, and LA on the left side of your screen. We do not have much information about New York right now, but you can see how big that scene is. Coming back to that later. LA, though, we do have confirmation that 2 people are injured. That includes a suspect of some sort who CNN reports is gravely wounded. Also a U.S. Marshal who is injured. We don't have details other than that about the injuries, how they were injured. But I'm reading here from CNN, this happened early Tuesday. Agents opened fire on a suspect, apparently, after the individual supposedly rammed into a vehicle that was part of the team of ICE and U.S. Marshals as they were doing an immigration enforcement check. Now, as I mentioned, we don't have much information, and you can see here, even in Los Angeles, we're pretty far back in terms of the camera. That scene is closed off multiple times here. See people moving around, you can see those cars stuck, but this is obviously an active investigation, especially because we have people injured and are waiting to hear back on the details of those injuries. New York, as I mentioned, a lot less information. This is a more sky cam view where you can kind of see that things are clearing up a little bit more, but we're going to come back out when we do have some more information. For now, though, heading back to our General Assembly in North Carolina, where lawmakers are discussing the plan to redraw the congressional maps. We come back to the House Committee on Redistricting. Right now, I believe they're just speaking amongst themselves and getting updates on the Senate's meeting yesterday where they did pass this through. But I am really interested in hearing about public comment, which is coming up later. That's the key piece of this, and that's really what we're watching for.
Exactly how much time is, but we will have debate.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chow. It's just I offered a solution that will make sure we have plenty time to debate members of this committee, and that the public has plenty of time to offer their comments, because we have been told that the Republicans will caucus at 4 o'clock. Therefore, we are caucusing at 4 o'clock. So we don't have to go into session, which was the original plan, to have session at 4 o'clock. So anything can be moved a bit to accommodate the necessary debate on this bill.
Well, as I say, we'll have to see how that develops. Presently, my instructions, if you will, for the committee are for us to finish at 10:04. If that changes, then I certainly am willing to stay here personally, but we'll see how that goes. At this point, we're going to go to public comment. I'll remind you of the rules, if you will, that 1 minute, the sergeant at arms has a card that he'll hold up after 30 seconds to let you know you've used half of your time, and then he's got a separate one to hold up when you have reached the 1 minute time limit. I know that's not a lot of time, but we got a lot of folks that we are going to try to hear from. I'm going to call these in the names in the order that they've been given to me, and I'm going to call several to start with, and I'll call them in order. If the person second and third and fourth in line would go ahead and come up to the mic and stand at the back or to the side and wait for your turn, that might help us move through this promptly. The first, and when you're speaking to us, if you'll identify clearly your name, if you are with an organization or representing a group, if you'll let us know that. The first 4 speakers that have signed up: Vicki Boyer, then former Congresswoman Eva Clayton, Clinton Wright, I think this is Khalil DeThomas, apologize if I didn't get that correctly, Tamika Walker Kelly. That's 5, but we'll start with Ms. Boyer if she's here, and if you'll come up to the mic, and Ms. Clayton, if you can get in position. Yes, Ms. Boyer.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm Vicki Boyer. I am from Orange County, representing myself. I want you to know I'm a North Carolina native, and I can trace my ancestors here back to the 1730s. I'm going to tell you that this is one of those days that will live in infamy in North Carolina history. Today, North Carolina Republicans show their true face. They have lost all sense of honor. They have lost their Christian values. They've become completely absorbed absorbed into the American Fascist Party. Their oath of office, sworn to with their hand on a Bible, means nothing to them. It was only a means to an end. Their actions today prove that their plans for North Carolina are so unpopular that they have to cheat to win. They don't want to govern, they want to rule. I hope they will remember that old adage that cheaters never prosper. The best sign I saw Saturday at a No Kings rally was this: Yo Papa didn't run moonshine through North Carolina hollers just so you could be a bootlicker.
Thank you, Ms. Boyer. Representative Eva Clayton. Ms. Clayton, welcome to the House.
Thank you. I wish to speak on the House bill redrawing North Carolina Congressional District. I rise to speak against the House bill that redraws North Carolina 1st Congressional District. Shame on this General Assembly, shame on North Carolina for silencing the will of the people of northeastern North Carolina, a true swing district that reflects the diversity value of the state. For 91 years after 1901, no black citizen represented North Carolina. I broke that banner. I was that person who was elected in 1992. I represented teachers. I represented farmers, those of the diverse area. In 2024, voters in this district chose a Republican president and a Democrat black representative. That, although I did not vote for that president, that is democracy. What you're doing today means that you are against democracy. But this redistricting strips, indeed, the majority black counties from the 1st Congressional District and bury them in a heavily Republican area. That is an act of gerrymandering. You also remove one of the 3 black representatives. Shame on you for saying you didn't consider him.
Thank you.
Do you not know that Donald Davis was black? Well, I'm here to inform you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Clayton. Our next speaker is Clinton Wright.
Good afternoon. I'm Clinton Wright, and I've come here today to talk about Senate Bill 249 as a recovering Republican turned registered independent. Like many of you, I'm from a rural country town where most people vote Republican because that's how my father, my papa, and my granddaddy and generations of my family voted. The GOP is a party of people who allow the social movements of their day to push them to do great things. I know what you're feeling in these confusing times. I know you're a Republican politician because you too want to do great things, and you're confused by the men and women around you who aren't living up to the principles of the party that you were raised in. So I've come here today to say, leave your church and your lying, abusive pastor. Burn your hoods instead of your crosses. Open your closet doors instead of hiding your truth. And I promise you that when you do, what you'll find is a huge, gigantic family that loves you just the way you are, and you don't need to stay on your knees worshiping the men who bully, belittle, harass, and rape you with their golden phalluses of lies and hatred. I know that deep down inside of you, you know that these maps are racist, immoral, and wrong. Vote no. State budget. In doing so, you will do something great,
Mr.
and
Wright,
you will
your
save
time has
yourself by finding
expired.
your freedom in your truth.
The next speaker, if I'm reading this correctly, is Khalil DeThomas. Apologize if that's not correctly pronounced.
Thank you. My name is difficult. It is Khalil D. Thomas. I am with Democracy Out Loud. I asked Representative Pricey for the amount of taxpayer money spent on redistricting litigation. $22,512,000 redistricting litigation since GOP took over in 2011. It's ironic to me that the Party for States' Rights is abdicating their own power to Trump to give a convicted felon with an incredibly dangerous and unpopular agenda your power. And you Republicans are willing to kneel to fascism for Berger's desperation not to be primaried. It's a misdirected claim that this is not race targeted when you're targeting the district that's known as the Black Belt. This is the Southern agenda. You will be on the wrong side of history. Today is an amazing opportunity for a Republican who has the nerve to be a hero by standing up for equal representation and the rights of Black voters. I demand Medicaid funding and a moral budget, not racist maps.
Thank you, Ms. DeThomas. Let me read out some names. I think Ms. Kelly is probably at the podium, but the next speakers after her, if you would come up, would be Greg Flynn, Deb Oronzio, Pat Butler, and Catherine O'Malley. Ms. Kelly, you're recognized.
I am Tamika Walker Kelly, an elementary music teacher from Cumberland County and president of NCAE. It has been 113 days since the General Assembly has missed its deadline to pass the state budget. 100 days of missed opportunities for students across the state, 100 days of educators trying to function without the raises that they deserve, and 100 days of uncertainty for schools trying to plan. But instead, you are busy drawing congressional maps once again. And so while teachers are wondering if they can stay in the classroom, you are rigging the system. And instead of students who are thinking of them who are sitting in overcrowded classrooms, you are breaking the rule of law to benefit the powerful few. Education, public education, is the foundation of our democracy and this economy, and yet it is playing second fiddle to people's political ambition, and that should not be so. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Greg Flynn.
Greg Flynn, citizen, voter. The map hasn't changed since yesterday, so my comments will be equally familiar. This president has circulated a video of himself dropping excrement on American people. This is the God you worship, the dictator you appeal to, you appease, the king you pander to, while thousands of North Carolina citizens are on track to lose health insurance, while civil rights guaranteed by the Constitution are now daily trampled on. No one is safe from his retributions, not even you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, a republic if you can keep it, not to a felonious monarch in a gilded house on Pennsylvania Avenue. Are you monarchists? Are you not Republicans? Absolute power is corroding the republic. Just because you can legally eat everything at a buffet doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. The next speaker is Deb Oronzio.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you. This action by the legislator is a shameless and deliberate attack on democracy. First, let's be crystal clear about the racist nature of this redraw. You're not just shuffling lines. You're dismantling a historic Black opportunity district. The claim of no racial data used is a legal shield to mask a real-world tragedy. You are effectively silencing the voices of Black North Carolinians and erasing their history of representation. This isn't just partisan. This is a moral regression. The sheer arrogance in this move is just as appalling when we all know that between 84 and 87% of all North Carolinians believe partisan gerrymandering is wrong. In a moment when our families are struggling with real issues, you are wasting taxpayer time to pick your own voters. This map is a stain on our state. You do not have the right to ignore the voices of your constituents. Shame.
Thank you, Ms. Oronzio. The next speaker is Pat Butler.
Democratic gerrymander.
Pat Butler. As a mother and grandmother.
Can you just for the record state your name and whether you are with anybody?
Pat Butler. I'm here for myself. And as a mother and grandmother, I taught my children not to be a bully. But if they encountered one, to not bow down, but to stand up for what they knew was morally and ethically right. And I imagine that many of you did the same thing with your children. So I'm asking you now, how do you explain to your children and rationalize that you're bending the knee to the dictator? How do you do that?
Thank you, Ms. Butler. The next speaker is Catherine O'Malley.
Hi, my name is Catherine O'Malley. I'm here representing myself. I am, however, a proud member of Red, Wine, and Blue, the League of Women Voters, and Indivisible. Apparently, you all have not realized you work for us. You do not work for yourselves. You do not work for Trump. You work for we, the people. I'm also a proud participant in the No Kings Day, where we stood 7 million proud to say, you represent us. These maps do not represent the state of North Carolina. These maps do not represent your constituents. We've heard that you are wasting taxpayer money. We've heard there's 10,997 public comments and us saying we want fair maps. These are not fair maps.
Thank you, Ms. O'Malley. I think I failed to.
All right, we are approaching the top of the hour, almost 3 o'clock. You've been listening into the public comment period at the Redistricting House Committee, where they're hearing from the public about, it sounds like most people that signed up are against this, many calling it racist, many saying that this is not democracy. Will be interesting to see what Republicans that are leading this charge have to say in response to that. Of course, they've already publicly denied those claims, but they're having to face these constituents right now, and so we'll come back to that in just a little bit. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 with more of that. Welcome back, almost 3 o'clock here in the Live Impact studio. I'm Julie Kay. We're going to get right back out to that House Redistricting Committee hearing at the North Carolina General Assembly, where they're hearing right now public comment from people who've signed up to speak, mostly so far, if not all so far, against this plan to redraw the maps and have one more seat in North Carolina, the congressional seat, go to a Republican as opposed to a Democrat. Short period of time here. They only get about a minute to speak, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to these constituents.
Maps are racketeering. And telling the lies over and over again about California doesn't make it true, it just makes you a liar. Add a referendum on a ballot in North Carolina and see what the people of North Carolina want. That is what you should be doing, not this.
Thank you, Mr. Swallow. I think Anna Ruderman is next, but before she speaks, If Frank Atkinson could come up next, Daniel Ayers, Eric Willoughby, and Mark McClure. Ms. Ruckerman, you have the floor. Ruderman, or I'm not sure.
Dr. Ruderman, yeah, thank you. Article 1, Section 10 of the North Carolina Constitution, known simply as the Free Elections Clause, states that all elections shall be free. Merriam-Webster's defined free as not determined by anything beyond its nature or being, choosing or capable of choosing for itself. In violation of the concept of free elections, partisan gerrymandering is the form of vote dilution, the devaluing of one citizen's vote as compared to others. That imposes a constraint on a voter's will. A rigged election is not a free election, nor is an election with a voter's voice is worthless because the election's results have been preordained by whoever wields political power. The rights that prohibit partisan gerrymandering are the bedrock of our sacred system of democratic government. And this is a shameful manipulation of our principles of democracy and the rule of law. And Mr. Blackwell, you were 20 years old, just 4 years younger than the late great John Lewis when he had his head bashed in to protect voting rights. I know on which side of history I would like to stand.
Thank you, Ms. Ruderman. Frank Atkinson, or is it Ackerson? No? How about Daniel Ayers?
And I'd just like to say that was quoting Justice Earl.
Daniel Ayers, Hometown Holler, North Carolina's #1 state politics podcast. Y'all check us out. Got my Bible here today, don't be nervous. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's that simple. It's that simple. I've heard a lot of excuses for these maps. Gavin Newsom, California. When we get down to it, folks, is this what you would have your neighbor do unto you? Is this what biblical leadership looks like? These maps are the wet dream of soft men who won't even look up from their phones to face their voters. These are men who lust for a world where the powerful do what they can and the rest of us suffer what we must. Jesus wept.
Thank you, Mr. Ayers. Eric Willoughby.
My name is Eric Willoughby. I'm a sophomore at UNC Charlotte, and I just want to highlight what this kangaroo court actually is. This is a sham. This is a blatant, racist attempt to limit the power of minority voters. This is pathetic, it is pitiful, and it is shameful. That is what this is. And you Republicans, you want us to be afraid because voters who are fearful do not show up. They do not come and fight you on everything. But let me tell you, hear us, see us. We are not afraid of you. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice, as Dr. King said. And we will win in the end. Shame on you. Shame.
Thanks. Mark McClure is next, but Ms. McClure, before you start, let me call out the next group. Congresswoman Alma Adams, Jennifer Berkins, Kristen, I think it's Creason or Groston, I'm sorry, can't quite read it, and Elena Siberio. Mr. McClure.
My name is Mark McClure. I'm a proud member of Democracy Out Loud. And according to the North Carolina Constitution, all political power originates from the people, is founded upon their will only, and is instituted solely for the good of the whole. This surgical targeting of the black and brown community in Northeast North Carolina is not for the good of whole. I'm a physician. There's a cancer in Washington, D.C., and it has metastasized throughout the Republican Party. And it will kill this party. It will kill the Republican Party. And it will hurt millions of people. Vote against this.
Thank you, Mr. McClure. Congresswoman Adams, welcome back. It's good to see your hat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Congresswoman Alma Adams. I'm a former member of this body, and I'm deeply ashamed of this body for putting the people of North Carolina last. Speaker Hall made it very clear that this attempt to further gerrymander our state is being done at the request of President Trump, not because it's in the best interest of North Carolina citizens. You focused on stealing another congressional seat after you've already stolen 3. And rigging our democracy, then addressing our states, not addressing our states' pressing issues. And we're tired of congressional districts being shuffled every election because you'd rather pick your voters than have them pick you. We're tired of being disenfranchised, of being embarrassed because gerrymandering is more important to you. So you're not just targeting a Democratic member, that's obvious, and he is black, you must know that. You're trying to dismantle the district with the largest record of black congressional leadership in North Carolina history. And that's just not right. Your constituents are speaking to you today. I certainly hope you listen. I spent 20 years here. I know you. You should know your citizens, and you need to respect our wishes.
Thank you, Congresswoman Adams. The next speaker is Jennifer Berkins.
Hello. I'm no organization, just a very concerned American citizen. What's happening here right now, because Pino, president in name only, asked you, his radical right minions, to steal more seats is an abomination. Chair Jones, your rhetoric and propaganda is astonishing. This started in Texas with Abbott, and California responded using your racist and right-wing tactics, and you don't like it. It's an abomination of our Constitution and what we the people want. Tell yourselves there's no racial component to this redistricting, or, gerrymandering, if it helps you sleep at night. This shouldn't even be happening at all, and this legislator isn't even doing its job. Where's our budget, guys? Y'all have your priorities mixed up, and your hunger for maintaining power and control is sickening. It doesn't end here. We, the people, will continue to fight for justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and fair maps. We, the people's voice, will not be stifled, and we will persist. The world is watching, and your place in history will not be favorable.
Thank you, Ms. Berkins. The next speaker is Kristen, and I apologize, I can't read your last name. You may.
Sorry. My name's Kristen Greason. I'm from Liberty, North Carolina, and I'm here on behalf of myself. I'm here because I'm tired. I'm tired because I'm feeling like my elected officials no longer serve their constituents as they are sworn to do. If you truly care about your constituents, you would be working to pass a budget. You would be working to fully fund Medicaid in the state of North Carolina. Instead, you are redistricting the state again to finagle more power and more money for yourselves. If you truly cared about what your constituents think, then put a referendum on the ballot and ask them across the state. Let them tell you what they want redistricting to look like in the state of North Carolina. Everyone in this room, Democrat or Republican, should be in favor of free and fair elections. You are not doing that right now.
Thank you, Ms. Greason. Before we go to Elena Siberio next, in line would be Landon Anderson, Lisa Mitchell, Ron Osborne, and Larissa Orishkovich. And so, Elena Siberio, if you're here.
I am. My name's Elena Siberio, and I am with Democracy Out Loud. This is a people's proclamation. Whereas on November 20, 2025, 25 members of the North Carolina Senate voted to openly disenfranchise black voters of District 1, we the people call shame. Whereas Senator Ralph Hayes of District 47 was divinely inspired to take it upon himself to violently remove justice from the voting rights of black voters in District 1, the people call shame. Whereas the Republican Party of this state has decided to get on their knees awaiting their reward from an authoritarian thug, a convicted felon, who sees himself as king while defecating on the citizens of this republic, the people call shame. Whereas the House of Representatives of the state of North Carolina has the opportunity on this date to break the cycle of partisan gerrymandering, the people say, do the right thing, stop hurting black voters, as has been the result of every gerrymander in this state's history.
Thank you, Ms.
Vote
Severio.
no.
Your time has expired. Landon Anderson. Mr. Anderson, are you in the room? If not, Lisa Mitchell.
Hello, and thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to talk. Rather than repeat points that other people have made, I would just like to remind this esteemed committee that 84% of voters, including 87% of Democrats, 78% of Republicans, have said they oppose partisan voting maps in this September survey. Each of you on this committee and in the House took an oath to defend the state constitution and serve all of the people of North Carolina. If this gerrymander is implemented, at least 6 million people will have lost trust in this House.
Thank you, ma'am. Ron Osborne.
I'm Ron Osborne. I'm from Alamance County, and I want to say that I applaud Representative Jones and Senator Heiss for their frankness. It is not easy to represent up front the Republican Party as they did. They did a good job of that. They put their bigotry and their greed front and center, and I appreciate that forthrightness in doing that. I only wish that your honesty, truthfulness would extend to talking about the motives behind these things. And it reminds me of a story about the old Quaker farmer called a chicken thief. He caught the chicken thief in his barn, and he said, "Friend, I would not shoot thee, but I would not harm thee, but I'm about to shoot where you're standing." And that's the kind of way you're looking at saying this is not about racial issues. You can call it which it is, but we know what's going on.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. The next speaker is going to be Larissa Orishkovich, but let me say, if you could get in line, as the following speakers: Hannah Gibbs, Jennifer.
All right, still on public comment there at the redistricting hearing in the House committee. Now, they're kind of on a time crunch here because they are supposed to be done by 4 so that the House can go back in full session. Unclear if that's going to get done in time, if they're going to be able to approve that in time to get there at 4, because, I mean, public comment just keeps going. We're going to take a quick break, but I'm sure this will still be going on when we come back in 2 minutes. Welcome back. I'm Julie Kay here in the Live Impact studio. We're going to get back to that North Carolina redistricting House hearing in just a little bit. They're still on public comment period at this point. But now we want to go to Atlanta. Earlier today, a threat at the airport, a threat of this person they're saying, Billy Joe Cagle, that they arrested, who threatened the safety of the airport there. It was supposed to be a mass casualty incident, people are saying. So luckily, police apprehended this suspect. They are talking about the footage that they're looking at now, arresting this suspect, and what led up to that arrest.
To proceed to their boarding gates. That's where he seemed to have most of his attention that he was focusing on. And as the Jonathan, we want to go to the next screen. Again, we're going back here to the timeline of when it was located in 9:40. We received the alert. We started pushing this information out the airport. Then Sergeant Jones, I'm actually going to turn it over to you because at this point you were on the phone, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you kind of tell us what you were passing out to the team. Then Officer Banks, if you'll kind of walk through how you knew you had located the individual.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay, so when I received the call from Cartersville Police Department, I did realize the urgency of trying to get all of the information out as soon as I could. So at first they were, of course, one of the family members did say my family member is en route to the airport to shoot the airport up, and it was the lookout given of the vehicle first of all, and so I gave out a lookout on the vehicle, and then needing additional information, a description of the guy, asked if they could send over a picture of him, which they sent it over immediately, and I began to pass it out amongst our the way we passed the information out, and I gave that out, and then I went on to ask what was he wearing, and they told me he was wearing a blue polo, and I asked was it a long sleeve polo or a short sleeve polo, and they were able to let us know that again it was a short sleeve polo. I gave out all of that information. I was just trying to give it out in real time as I was getting it so the officers would know, and everyone who had their radio on would have their head on a swivel, and they would be actively looking for this guy.
Yeah, Officer Banks, you want to tell us what's happening here and right before this moment with your encounter?
Okay, so after I received the information from my sergeant, that's when I just put the description, I put it together. So we already had that he was about 350 pounds. He was a big guy. So I started to canvass the airport. Once I canvassed the airport, once the description came over of the shirt that he was wearing, the blue polo striped shirt, that's when I was able to identify him immediately. As I was walking towards identifying him, that's when I bumped into my partner, Officer Gibson, and I confirmed that that was the guy, that's the description, he fits it, and that's when I went on ahead to apprehend the suspect.
Thank you very much. Then we would obviously transport him to our precinct. At this point, we're also alerting our federal partners. We were alerting the FBI, we were alerting the TSA, and all those federal agencies that we work closely with to be able to keep the airport safe. He would proceed to be charged. We would charge him eventually after consulting with the district attorney. He was charged with terroristic threats. Yes, sir. Can you grab the mic? Certainly, certainly. And then going over the charges that we charged yesterday, I think what's currently before the Clayton County courts now are 3 of the 4, which is terroristic threats, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and possession of a firearm by a felon. Mr. Cagle was a convicted felon. He cannot legally possess the weapon, and so the FBI is working to determine where he was able to obtain that weapon. And it's my understanding, Major Wilson, that as of this morning, federal charges are also being applied, right?
That's correct, sir. That's correct.
And I think he's being transferred to the custody of the federal authorities.
At this time, yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is transpiring today.
So at this time, Chief, we'll move into what type of training our officers receive.
And the training of the police department is not just for the airport. We protect 245 unique neighborhoods in the city. We also protect the world's busiest airport, the world's most efficient airport, and I would say the world's safest airport. Our officers receive training for every type of emergency that we could be called to respond to, or that you, as a member of the media, could be called to cover, from a baby not breathing to an active shooter, and everything in between. The airport does train for active shooter situations. We do train for terror attacks against that facility. We also have a special team, our airport special response team. that is specifically designed, equipped, and trains frequently to counter the type of attack that was, I believe, being plotted yesterday. Many of those resources you each can see when you travel. Some of them you can't see. We don't put everything in public view that we have in place to protect the airport, but be it bombs, be it guns, be it a stabbing attack, be it a child not breathing, whatever the emergency is, these women, these men of the Atlanta Police Department prepare for it each and every day. And that infrastructure is in place Friday through Saturday, 24 hours a day. We're going to make sure if we have the responsibility to protect any neighborhood of the city, we're going to be ready. And if we have the responsibility to protect the airport, we're going to be ready. And I do want to thank our mayor for the last 4 years, who's been investing heavily in our organization, that we can grow it back to its authorized strength, keep the officers that we hire, bring out the organization, train them well, and give them the tools they need to be able to counter whatever threat we need to do. So, again, ladies, I appreciate you for your work yesterday.
At this time, we will open up for questions. We're going to start with Kate, and we will go all the way around, then we'll come back. I see you all in the back row as well. If you know that you don't want to ask a question, I see you as well. If you don't want to ask a question, just pass off to the next person, yield that time. So Kate, we'll start with you.
My main question was how we got the gun, but it sounds like y'all don't know that yet.
Don't know that yet, right? Our federal partners are helping us determine that.
Okay, and knowing what happened yesterday, knowing how a tragedy was averted, as a police officer, how does that feel on a personal level? This is very professional, but just as a person, how does it feel to know that you can stop this?
It feels amazing. I think as a police level, we don't really sit in the moment and realize, the change that we made or what we prevented as far as the lives that we save. But I think after the adrenaline went down and after everything calmed down, I realized I know why I'm a police officer. I know why I'm here, and I serve at Atlanta Police Department. I'm here to, serve and protect. I'm here to, give protection to the airport and make sure that everyone's safe in their travel. And that's a big deal for me. That's a big deal for me.
Sergeant Jones, if you want to answer that as well.
Oh, it was great. I feel amazing. I'm in my last 6 months of my 30 years, and to be sitting here now, with you all and the chief and talking about everything that went on, I feel great. This is what I've trained to do, and I've loved doing this for the past 29 years, and it's just an amazing feeling.
Can you describe what a regular day is for you guys at the airport? Of course, it's the busiest airport in the world. So many people go there every hour, every minute. What's your regular day like, and how different is it from what
happened? Our regular day, we just make sure that we keep it clean as far as, just the homeless, and make sure that we're protecting the environment. We do our 89s. We make sure that the airport is covered on the external part as well as the internal part. So just a regular day, we have a flow of things. We have a routine that we do for the airport. But the difference for this day, you hear a rifle, you hear someone, threatening a place that you come to work every day. And then you think about all the people that's in the airport. That one action could have changed lives for many, even for myself. So it was almost like day and night. And just a split of a second, it could have been bad. So we changed that. And we played our part, and the sergeant, she did amazing with putting out the information, and it was a blessing. It was a blessing.
All right, we're going to go to that back here, starting with, are you going to ask a question?
Yeah, that was a very compressed timeline if you look at 9/31 to 9/52. Is there any sort of new technology that you're able to use? It seems like almost old school, but is there any new technology at the airport or the APD?
We're always looking at new technologies. We have a team that's their role. And so right now we have a robust camera system throughout the airport, as you can see. We are exploring other technologies to make sure that the human resources that protect are complemented. And so right now we have some things in vetting process I'm not going to discuss here, but I'm excited where the technology is going to help us be to keep the airport safe.
About how many officers were working when this happened yesterday, and is that kind of the normal number that's patrolling the airport at any time?
We tend not to provide staffing numbers, which I've done that for the last 4 years. All across the city, we have our sections that are given a geographic area to protect. We make sure they're properly staffed. We also are the largest law enforcement agency in the state, so I will transfer resources as needed anywhere in that space. So we have the number of officers necessary to keep it safe. We're scalable. If we have a detected threat, we're going to surge in anywhere in the city to make sure we do that.
I know you all had opened kind of the newer state-of-the-art precinct at the airport not too long ago. Did that play a role in this kind of quick response yesterday? Is that why this was designed to be there?
The new terminal out at F does not have any role to play in this one. That was the international one. The one that we currently have in domestic is the original precinct that we've had for many years, but that did not play a role one way or the other yesterday.
I think our new precinct's going to come online next year.
There's going to be a new administrative precinct for the airport next year, but that won't open until the fall of 2026 after the FIFA ends.
You know, your officers are trained to deal with people they come across who may be experiencing mental challenges. I'm sure you'll be looking at this particular situation to see what can be gleaned from it. Is that true?
We are always going back and reviewing, debriefing, and examining what we could do better. And that's something that we do, whether it's a situation like this, a traffic accident, suspicious package. We are always going back and looking at the process and seeing what we can do and how we can improve. Absolutely, though.
Do you have a question?
Officer Banks, how long have you been with the police department, and did this feel like the training kicked in and everything was just like a reflex, or?
Yeah. I've been with Atlanta Police Department for 3 years, coming up on 3 years. Been at the airport for about two years and some change. Yes, as far as the training, you don't really, as a police officer, you go through these trainings in the academy, or you go through these trainings, throughout the year and recertifications, but you don't realize when it actually happens in person. You don't know how to prepare for that. So yes, I did go into tunnel vision, and all of my skills, everything that I've learned just came as one. And that's when I just went into straight police mode. Got the description, just look for the person, proceed with caution, make sure that they don't have any firearms, no bulging on their waistline, make sure you see their hands, everything. The reason why I walked up so comfortably and smoothly was due to the fact that I did my visual observation, and I was able to control the situation with just, interacting with him and making sure that I can, apprehend him the correct way.
Thank you for doing this. Can you elaborate a little bit more about the threat? We've heard that he threatened to shoot up the airport. Have you watched the live stream video? If there are any more details you can provide? And did you ever consider evacuating the terminal or even putting him on lockdown?
So I've not listened to the video myself. I know that was being conveyed to Sergeant Jones, and she was receiving the information. We take the steps necessary at the time that we have the information. Could that have happened? It could have. You got to remember, we were just minutes after the initial phone call being made. And so we were able to mitigate the threat, locate him with our first level of protection, which is our officers. We're always going to take the steps necessary to keep the airport safe. We have not listened to the video. We know the FBI is working on that as well. But for a family member who knows someone the best, to call and convey in the manner that they did, we knew it was serious. And that's why we started deploying the resources that we did.
Sergeant, just to make sure, who were you talking to on the phone? Were you talking to the family? Or?
I was speaking with a family member and also the officer over at Cartersville Police.
Tell me about that phone call. Like what?
Were
they panicked? Like, I just want to...
Yeah, it was an ordinary great day at the airport. I'm in my last little 6 months, so to get that call, it made me stand up. It made me stand up and start taking notes. And again, I was internally panicking, like, oh, hurry up, let's get this information out. As you're getting it to Tawana, don't write it down, just give it out right now so the officers can hear what you're hearing. And that's exactly what I did. My heart was beating fast. I'm like, okay, I haven't heard any gunshots or anything go off, so we're good right now. Let's just get that information out to prevent that from happening.
But what was that family member? What were they saying? Were they panicking?
The family member didn't sound panicky. They were very calm, and they were so giving of the information, and they were very cooperative. And I thank them for calling and giving that information. And like I said, it was a panic. It was get that information out.
I saw in the video of the gun. I'm sorry.
We're going in order.
So sorry.
Taisha, and then I'll come to you, Taisha.
Okay, that was exactly what I was going to ask you, so thank you for that. But Officer Banks, everybody in the newsroom wants to know, when you put your hand out, that was your hand,
yes,
right? And it seemed like at that moment, that's when you were like, you knew. Can you just describe to us exactly what was going through your mind? You had already tapped into all your training. What were you thinking?
To be honest, it might sound, strange, but as a police officer and all the training, I was scared. It was fearful for a second. Just knowing the size difference, just knowing, there are things that can possibly happen, and you have those scenarios in your mind as a trained police officer. You think of what can happen in seconds. I mean, it moves so fast. So as I put my hand on his back, that's when I knew, okay, it's time. It's time to put the cuffs on him. It's time. This is the person. So it was almost like a understanding that this is what I have. This is the person. I'm very sure. I know this is what we have, and I have the assistance of all the other officers and units that we have at the airport. And then that's what the comfort came to know. Yeah, that it was time to put him in cuffs. Yeah.
And in that moment, did you feel the lives saved? Like,
yes, I felt that something shift. I felt that whatever he had in his mind that he was going to do, I was there to stop it.
Thank you.
In the photo with the gun in the back of the truck, there was a bullet next to the gun. Did he have a round chambered in that weapon, and how much more ammunition did he have on him?
I don't believe the weapon was actually, a round was chambered, but there was a magazine with 26 rounds, and there was a round on the floorboard when we inventoried the vehicle. There was also, I believe, 2 spent shell casings that were also recovered inside the vehicle as well.
Officer Jones and Sergeant Jones and Officer Banks.
Yes, sir.
Knowing that you both knew the motion taking place, can you just give us your perspective of knowing that you kept people at the airport, calm? Can you speak about that about your training and things, and so knowing that the people at the airport, they know about the motion that was about to take place?
You want to lead, Sarge?
I'm going to let you go ahead.
Okay. From my perspective as an officer and being on the scene, I knew that the airport was calm. No one knew what was going on, and I wanted to keep it that way. I wanted the scene to stay calm, because once things get aroused, and that's when things get confusing. So my approach was with professionalism and with courtesy. Although this person was a suspect, although this person was someone that was targeting the airport or threatening the airport, I knew that if I just, walk with courtesy, professionalism, and respect, that the situation will be handled the correct way. So I wanted to make sure that everyone was remaining calm in the airport and in the South Terminal, just so they won't interfere with what we had at hand.
Joseph.
Officer Banks, what was your reaction when you saw the suspect? Was he just standing there? Was he calm? And Sergeant Jones, how did you guys alert the rest of the officers in the airport? Did you guys send them a text? Did you guys radio in? How was that possible?
Well, of course, when the picture came in, I did have to disseminate the picture. So the picture was given out, and I'm just letting the officers know, hey, I just sent the picture, look at the picture. And again, as all the description of his clothing and everything was coming in, I just was giving it out to the officers as I was getting it. No, over the radio, just over the radio. Like I said, I didn't want to write anything down and sit on any information. I wanted to go ahead on and get that information out, because I knew time was of the essence. So that's exactly what I did.
And repeat your question for me as well.
How, when you finally found him, how was he like? Was he just standing
Okay,
there
yeah.
in the Delta area? What was he?
When I noticed it, when I put the description together and I identified the suspect, and he was calm. He was just pretty much kind of scanning the place around, like just looking around and idling the area, pretty much looking like he was casing the area a little bit, just seeing, what's going on and what people are doing. And he had his phone in his hand. So he wasn't irate or anything like that at the moment. He was pretty calm, yeah.
Tracy, what was the reaction of the travelers around you? I mean, everything that we see is pretty much focused on him. It looks like business as usual. Did people ever notice and recognize what was happening?
I don't believe so. Like I said, I was in tunnel vision as far as doing what I needed to do to just get him in cuffs as quick as possible. As far as everything going on around me, everyone was just moving as if they were doing their regular day. And that's what we like to do at the airport. We like to make sure that if we have something or we have a call or anything like that, we don't like to make the scene bigger than what it is. We get our description, we get what we need from the sergeant, we do our canvases, we do what we need, and we make sure that we apprehend them and take them immediately to the precinct, and then we can further our investigation.
And was there any kind of a mental health evaluation?
Yeah, that would be ordered by the courts, and so we would not carry that out, but the courts would.
Going back to that side. Top five, any questions, Faith?
You had mentioned that
We're
there
gonna go
was
with Faith
something
first, and
about
then
the
we'll come to
video.
you. We'll go with Faith first, and then we'll come to you.
Thank you. Officer Banks, you mentioned that he had his cell phone in his hand. Was he still live streaming at the time?
I'm not sure. Yeah, he was way too tall for me to even see. All I saw was, I'm like, I just need to get his hands, that's it.
All right, next question from Faith.
You had earlier mentioned something about the change in the video, like a timestamp.
So that we added the 936, we were able to get Taisha asked a question about the vehicle being ticketed on yesterday. We were able to find out that it was at 936, that it was ticketed. So that's the only change from yesterday's presentation and today's, is the 936 was added. All right, I see your hand. I used to be a teacher, so I'm just
For Chief and for Major, can you further explain what's going on with the feds? Either was it handing over the case or handing him over?
Yeah, we were notified this morning that there would be federal charges. I did speak with the special agent in charge of the FBI today.
You've been listening in to officials in Atlanta giving an update on a suspect they apprehended who was apparently planning something at the Atlanta airport, planning a shooting there. So good news that that was caught before that happened. But of course, people are very interested because it could have been such a huge problem. So we're going to take a quick break. But when we get back, we're going to continue to follow the North Carolina House Redistricting Committee. They are still in session. I believe now they are talking amongst themselves. So we'll come back to that in just a few minutes. Welcome back to the Live Impact Studio here. We're actually going to get back out to the U.S. Senate because North Carolina has wrapped up for now. I expect them to be back in the next 20 minutes with the full House. But this is a Senate caucus hearing on international narcotics control, specifically out of Latin America.
with the ability of Hezbollah to improvise, adapt, and overcome, it would not surprise me that Hezbollah operatives have entered the United States in any number of manners, to include crossing southwest border, sir.
And would you care to add anything to the earlier witnesses in terms of why people should care? So what?
Yes, Senator, that's not the first time I've been asked, so what? And I'll give you, and the reason being is that cases I've worked in the United States, and again, Hezbollah is very, very cautious about attracting the attention of law enforcement. They don't get involved in large-scale bank fraud that they're going to attract the attention of the FBI or Secret Service, and they don't get involved in bank robberies or violent crime to attract the attention of the police. There is a no man's land, insurance fraud, credit card fraud, tobacco tax evasion that makes millions of dollars without any kind of oversight. And this money, Senator, is utilized to purchase dual-use equipment that has drastically affected the lethality of Hezbollah attacks overseas, has garnered together support for Hezbollah cells in the United States. So what? That's why.
Thank you. Senator Whitehouse.
Thanks very much. Dr. Levitt checked the boxes of terrorists, rogue regimes, and narcotics traffickers, all of whom are supported by the transnational shadow financial system, which I think now is more or less unified, coalesced into a easily accessible international operation. Just if each of you could quickly describe how you believe our present level of effort against that transnational shadow financial system compares to where we should be. 1%, 2%, 200%, we're doing too much? How do you think we are compared to where we should be in battling that, investigating, exposing, and battling that financial system? Start with you, Mr. Levitt, and shoot right across.
To be perfectly blunt, for all we're doing, and we're doing a lot, I'd give it a generous 5%.
5%?
That sounds about right to me, Senator.
About 5?
I think it's high.
You think 5% is high?
Yep.
Same, sir. High.
5%? Okay, well, that's good to know. We can do 20 times as much. We need to. I'm with you. As my time closes out, I just wanted to flag one issue. I don't know if any of you have spoken to this before, but we're coming up on a Ukraine bill in which I'd like to get attention to a particular problem that the Department of Justice has when it deals with foreign criminals, oligarchs, sanctions violators, and so forth, with respect to asset seizure. And it relates to this shadow financial system in which assets are hidden so that the people who stole them can keep a grip on them from law enforcement. And the perfect example is an oligarch yacht. But it could be a narco-trafficker's yacht, run through a lot of the same, Cypriot bank accounts, Cayman Islands shells, Dakota trusts, who knows what. At the moment, under U.S. law, an asset that is seized by federal law enforcement under $500,000, law enforcement can proceed against what lawyers would call as in rem. And I'm sure those of you with law enforcement experience remember doing this. And you see it happening because the case is styled United States versus $40,000 found in trunk of Chevy Chevelle. And there's a public notice of the proceeding against that $40,000, and anybody who wants to claim that $40,000 gets to show up. The Department of Justice did this with botnets. Notice to the world, here's this botnet, we're about to take it down, strip it off the internet. If it's yours, come show up and challenge us. If not, we'll get a court order. And of course, nobody shows up because they'd have left out the back of the courthouse in handcuffs. Right now, we do not have the ability to proceed as United States versus Mega Yacht Esmeralda, I'm making up the name, because we have to go through all the arcane procedures trying to figure out the ownership. I think we should be able to do that for foreign criminals and kleptocrats. It shouldn't be a $500,000 limit, and a foreign oligarch or kleptocrat or narco trafficker should not have more rights in the United States than a United States citizen has with respect to their own property under $500,000. So I will ask you, not now, because I haven't given you a chance to think about this, but in a question for the record, doesn't it make sense to simplify asset seizure in the context of international crime and kleptocracy in a way that matches the way we treat U.S. citizens for asset seizure? Said the other way, why should a narco trafficker, why should a kleptocrat or the crooked leader of a rogue regime get more protection and be able to build more legal nonsense and defenses around an asset than an American citizen pulled over on Highway 95? So there's my question for the record, and I want to thank the chairman for, I think, has been a very productive and helpful opening hearing of the Chairman Cornyn caucus on anti-narcotics.
Thank you. Senator Moreno?
So I think it's, would you guys agree, it's fair to say that what we're really talking about is national security here, correct? You guys all agree with that? So if we think about, and I think Mr. Billingsley, you said, or maybe Mr. Sales, you said at the end of the day, a sovereign country can't be sovereign without a secure border. You agree? And explain, maybe for the record, how that works, meaning you have legitimate border crossings, which Senator Lujan talked about, and I think he makes points about what we need to do there with better technology. But when you have a surge of migrants through a non-designated port of entry, just explain operation. Maybe Mr. Clifford, I'll ask you to do it. What happens operationally on the border when you have a surge at a non-standard, non-designated port of entry? What happens to the legal port of entry? What happens to the resources there?
Well, thank you, Senator. That's a logistical, organizational question. It's difficult to answer without knowing the specifics of that surge, where it is, what kind of...
Well, let's say it's far away in a non-designated port of entry, and you have your two legal port of entries that are doing it. Wouldn't it be common sense to say, hey, we need more resources, and you weaken these two places because you have to surge over here to the place where you have 18,000, 20,000 people crossing, claiming falsely asylum? Wouldn't that be accurate?
It would be, sir, the judicious use of limited resources, going where the threat is the most.
Sure. So you said adapt. That's how they've maybe adapted, right? And when you look at a period of time of 4 years where you have 10 million people that came across the border, was that good for national security or bad for national security?
Bad for national security, Senator.
And so that asks the rest of you, just good or bad. Was that good for Hezbollah and for terrorists, or was it bad for them?
They're not very good terrorists if they didn't take the opportunity.
And it would almost be a malpractice, wouldn't you say, if Hezbollah had this opportunity during this completely open border to put people through, wouldn't you say?
I think, Senator, if you talk to HSI, you might find some specific examples of where they did that.
It's a real concern, Senator. I don't have the data to back it up. I'm a private citizen who reads the newspaper. I don't get the exquisite reporting anymore, but it's certainly a vulnerability, and terrorists are very good at exploiting vulnerabilities.
And maybe, Mr. Levitt, you can answer the question a little bit differently. If you were a Hezbollah terror operative and you were able to surge the border, where would you go? In America, like where would you pick to go? Would you go to a sanctuary city, or would you go to a city where law enforcement is respected, immigration rules are enforced? If you had those two choices, you have a binary choice, where would you go?
I think it's worth pointing out that of all the cases I know of actual Hezbollah operatives of kind of the country, less than 5 that I know of actually chose to come in this way. As Bob Clifford noted, there's other ways with better operational security to come in.
But by definition, we don't know. By definition, we don't know because they don't participate in a census. We just have to use a standard called common sense that says, well, if you have a surge of 18,000 people in one area, maybe we'll sneak in a half a dozen there, and you're going to probably go to a sanctuary city because you're actually going to be given sanctuary. Well, that's just common sense. And again, they don't participate in a census. They don't get a survey monkey on their iPhone and they fill out and say, are you a terrorist? Where are you? Just checking.
I didn't get that survey monkey myself either. It is a viable theory, but like you said, it is just that. It's not based on data.
So let's move to the next piece. So you have the border wide open, huge problem. Sanctuary cities, gigantic problem. Certainly helps the terrorists and helps the people that are bringing harm to this country. How about impeding ICE operations? Is that helpful or harmful to terrorists?
If I'm a terrorist, the last thing I want is law enforcement on my trail.
All right, so when you see the impeding of ICE operations, it's ultimately decently ironic because what you're doing is you're helping the criminals. Is that correct? Mr. Billingsley, would you like to add to that?
I think that's exactly right.
And then deportations, like if we want to get people out of the country, trying to jailbreak deportees from foreign jails, is that helpful or hurtful to national security?
It's hurtful and illegal.
Well, not exactly illegal. That was done. I mean, when you go down there and have margaritas in a foreign jail with somebody who we deported is probably not helpful. But ultimately, this is about national security, but also about destabilizing Latin America. You know, the advantage of the United States of America is that we were blessed with phenomenal real estate. We live in a really good neighborhood. That's not true of a lot of places on earth. But if you can destabilize Latin America, it is ultimately the way to destabilize the U.S. Would you agree, Mr. Clifford?
What is your question, Senator?
Is destabilizing Latin America good for America or bad for America, for the United States?
A stabilized Latin America, people would remain there and participate in their country.
And I think we can summarize this, and I know I'm over time, and thank you again for having this hearing, Senator Cornyn. When we look at the Trump doctrine, you look at somebody like me who was born in South America, came here with my family. You look at the United States as somebody who spreads peace and stability around the world. What we've seen, sadly, over decades is basically willful ignorance of Latin America, an inability for us to meaningfully engage in Latin America in a way of providing American leadership. And I think President Trump is changing that in very important ways. Number one, designating these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. You're going to see us take action on that. Designating Venezuela as a state sponsor of terror. You're going to see us take action on that. Putting these narco-sympathizing Hezbollah supporter, terror narco supporters on the OFAC list, their families, their enablers. I think you're going to see us take action on that and investigate when they've been elected because they've gotten money from narco terrorists. That ultimately says we're going to clean up Latin America and rid corruption. Just real quickly, Mr. Sales, Mr. Billingsley, good idea, bad idea?
Good idea. The more stable, the more prosperous our neighborhood is, the better for everyone.
Senator, I 100% agree with you. One key point here, when you look at the regime that has fostered the socialist plague that has spread across Latin America, it's the Venezuelans. It's corrupt, dirty Venezuelan money that underwrote the Petro campaign. They funneled money into Mexico. They funneled money into Brazil. Once we have democracy restored in Venezuela, all of that subversion money that has been underwriting the socialist campaigns around the region dries up. So does the oil revenues to the Cuban regime, all of the support to the Nicaraguans. We forget about what Ortega is doing to the Nicaraguan people. It's a travesty. So the solution begins with the restoration of democracy in Venezuela, in my humble opinion.
I couldn't agree more, and I think we're going to free Venezuela, and that will be one of President Trump's many, many legacies. It's long past due, and I think his days are numbered, and I would be surprised if he's still in Venezuela by the end of this year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lujan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Levitt, Treasury has been aggressive in sanctioning Hezbollah-linked money exchanges such as Shams Exchange and Lebanese Canadian Bank, making it more difficult for them to access money in the traditional banking system. Now, my question is the United States now seeing Hezbollah's illicit finance infrastructure include digital assets, crypto mining, or use of crypto exchanges in the tri-border area?
Not only in the tri-border area in Venezuela. We haven't seen huge numbers yet, but I would expect we would see this as a growth area. They'll continue to use those exchange houses, and some of them, including Shams, still exist and still function. In Lebanon, we need Lebanon to take more action, but I do think that the level of illicit financial activity through crypto is only going to increase.
And Mr. Billingsley, seeing your reaction there, given the rapid rise of decentralized finance platforms, how would multilateral mechanisms reduce the risk caused by the regulatory gap that allow Hezbollah's financing activities in the region?
The most important thing, in my view, is that we have to continue to insist on the standard that that crypto asset service providers are treated the same way that money service businesses like Western Union and others are. You need to come in and furnish identification on who you are. You need to furnish identification or information on who you're sending the money to. And that information needs to be preserved for a minimum of 5 years for law enforcement to have access if they come knocking. That is the standard that we adopted at the Financial Action Task Force globally, and we need to follow through here in the United States to enforce that domestically as well.
Mr. Billingsley, would you say that FinCEN, one of the tools that exists with looking at financial institutions in the United States, is there a way to strengthen that? Going back to the point that I made earlier, which is if these investigations are showing that bad people are doing bad things, a financial institution says they get caught laundering or they get charged, alleged laundering, then they come up with the corrective report. The way that I understand it now is they work with Treasury to hire someone that they agree upon to audit themselves and to implement the correction. I don't understand that. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good business to be in, to get hired by the person accused to say, well, tell me how to do the crime better, I guess. I don't know, so I don't get caught. I'm really curious as to what can be done to strengthen not just this environment as we're having a marketing structure conversation in America, and everyone in the industry that I've spoken to, they want to do better here, and they insist that a strong market structure policy would create a better environment. I believe that by doing that we can create a better environment for financial institutions in America. Do you have a reaction to that, or you want to put some thought into that and maybe respond later?
Maybe I'll respond.
I appreciate
that. I know I served as a Treasury-imposed independent monitor on a large European defense company that was doing a whole bunch of stuff they shouldn't have been doing. And they had to pay for me at Deloitte when I was doing this, but I was not on their payroll, and there was never any doubt as to who I reported to, which was the U.S. government. So some of these independent monitorships, I would say are probably the right way to go, but I'd be happy to talk further with you about that.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. Maybe I can get something into the record, but I'd like to do a follow-up in that space and see if there's something that we might be able to find in a bipartisan way that we might be able to find some agreement in this space. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you to each of you for your expert